Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson, live on YouTube from the Antonio Cromartie studio in part with Huggies, all brought to you by FanDuel. It's time, Sam, for our Week 11 NFL review.
11.
Week 11.
We're running out of weeks.
We are running out of weeks. Before you know it, it'll be our favorite time of the year, off-season mode. Team building mode.
Team building.
But all that team building coming to a head here as we're more than halfway through the season and seeing another wild Sunday of NFL action. You ready to break it all down?
Let's go.
Let's do it. As always, first off, hit subscribe. Let's start with that. Why don't you hit subscribe? Join us. Let's get to 100,000 by the draft.
Where are we at now? 68.
Over 68.
68,000. Yeah. I mean, 70,000 will be a milestone, but it's not 100.
Jumping up to 100.
Nobody's giving you a silver play button for 70.
Silver play button. Let's get to 100 by free agency, we'll say. If it lands at draft season, we can handle it. But yeah, appreciate everybody for joining us. Let's get into the Week 11 action. It all started way back Thursday night. New England Patriots 27, New York Jets 14. Patriots move to 9-2, now tied atop the AFC at 9-2 with the Denver Broncos, who won yesterday, of course. Jets fall to 2-8. This Thursday night, we will have a watch-along in the Texans-Bills game for our members, so check out the memberships as well. But yeah, New England, another one of those take care of business games for New England, and they did.
Yeah, against the feisty Jets, who were actually feisty for the first time in a while.
Started out feisty.
This was kind of the team that I think people expected more this season. They came out running the ball, genuinely felt like a kind of service academy offense. Like, we're just going to come up with every run we've got in the book. Don't worry about passing it too much, Justin. Sit back, relax. If we have to later, once we've really established a run, maybe you can dump a pass over the top. But they score a touchdown, 14 plays, 11 runs on that drive. Patriots answer, unfortunately, so it's 7-7. They haven't really done much. But this was the kind of Jets team I think that most people expected to see.
Yeah, it was the heavy run. Like, when I thought that they would be feisty this year is because of heavy run, maybe some variance on defense, but drives like that, the service academy drives, I love that as a descriptor. Justin Fields was the leading runner for the Jets with 67 yards, had a couple nice runs in this, but their pass game is just so limited, and that catches up to them in any kind of game. And again, for New England, a take care of business game, the schedule thing is going to be a discussion point for New England down the stretch. It doesn't mean that they can't beat good teams. It's just they're 9-2. They're going through less of a grind than some of the other teams in the AFC. Yes, they beat Buffalo in Buffalo, and they've got the two big games at home against Buffalo and at Baltimore to prove themselves, but they'll be in the playoffs, and they're sitting atop the AFC East, and they're not slipping up, which is huge, right? For a team that's won 8 games over the last 2 years, they're now at 9 this season, and their ability to not slip up, win the games that they're supposed to, and do it, in pretty definitive fashion, I think has been impressive for the Patriots.
Yeah, they've been good. The schedule, it's a factor. Like, you can't ignore it as a variable in all this. It is definitely helping them relative to some other teams, but that doesn't mean they're not also good. Like, they're not mutually exclusive. The problem is the Patriots are not going to have that many opportunities to show that they're good for real because their schedule is so easy. So we may well be in a situation where they go into the playoffs without us really understanding whether this is a very good football team or simply a team that's been riding an extremely easy record. But they will have a couple of them left in the season, and those end up being really big games for them. But yeah, I mean, all you can do is beat what's in front of you. Right now they're beating what's in front of them.
Another strong outing for Drake May, MVP chance around Gillette, some excitement and energy in Gillette Stadium for the first time in a while. But Drake May continue.
Really feel happy for a downtrodden franchise,
I only say that because I thought it was funny. The biggest explosion that they had was the Bailey Zappi game. I know they had a good season in 2021, but the Bailey Zappi game, it was like New England's back, and then he fell apart the rest of his career. Drake May looking good again. Second straight game, only sacked one time. When you watch his plays in this game, I see so many people saying, man, it really feels like the game has slowed down for Drake May. And if you look at his pocket movement, his ability to step up and through the pocket, we'll talk about maybe some quarterbacks who don't step up and through the pocket and maybe work backwards a little bit too often when they drop back in a couple hours when we talk about Shedeur Sanders. But Drake May does a really nice job manipulating the pocket, and that's a part of his game I think that continues to grow. Even if he's not going to, complete 80% of his passes every single game, just the ability to avoid some of those negative plays, turn them into completions, I think that's growing just in these last couple weeks here.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really impressive with that. His completion rate, his accuracy is still pretty spectacular. I mean, that was a huge part of his negative slate as a prospect coming into the NFL, was just the number of layups he left on the table, easy throws, if you like, that he wasn't hitting. And he's kind of eliminated those completely. He's become accurate, he's become efficient, he's hitting almost everything that's there, and he's making some of those plays where he manipulates the pocket, even if it's not, dramatic takeoff and scramble stuff. It's just simple slide out of the way of the first guy, stay in the space and make the play. I mean, he looks incredibly impressive. I don't know if he will win MVP, but he's certainly in the conversation.
And then finally, pretty good game for Trevion Henderson for the Patriots. Handled most of the running workload. Ramondre Stevenson out again. So
90% of snaps.
What's that?
90% of snaps for a guy that they had been basically steadfastly refusing to put on the field for any significant period of time for half the year.
3 touchdowns, 2 impressive touchdown runs in tight quarters, and then reception in the back of the end zone, the beneficiary of some of Drake May's pocket movement. So 3 touchdowns for Trevion Henderson. Not an explosive stat line or anything, 19 carries for 62 yards, but I think he's doing a little bit better, running through contact. And again, those goal line runs were really good for Henderson, a week removed from having his 2 50-plus yard touchdowns last week against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean, it's so strange that kind of, I don't know what the reason is for how little he's been on the field over the first half of the year. I mean, I know people point to a couple of struggles in pass protection early. I mean, that was a strength of his as a prospect. I'm not sure that's a reason to have him completely off the field the way they did for so much of the season, but that was a huge game for him, I think, to show that he can handle that kind of workload and still be really good.
So just to finish up on this game, New England sitting there at 9-2. Buffalo got the win. They're 7-3, so they have a 1.5 game lead over the Bills, and they have the tiebreaker for now, but they have the other tiebreakers as well. So even if they slip up against the Bills, the Patriots are in a power position, not only for the AFC East, but for a potential number 1 overall seed. Denver's also at 9-2. Colts are at 8-2. They've got the Chiefs this week. So it's competitive at the top of the AFC, just not with the 3 teams that we expected coming into the year. It's like throwback a decade ago. Patriots, Colts, and Broncos, all atop the AFC.
Yeah, strange times relative to expectations coming into the year. A couple other things from the game. Milton Williams got hurt. It was like a friendly fire thing. Went to the locker room, was back on the sideline, but I don't think came back in the game properly. So that's not ideal for the Patriots, but I don't think is a long-term serious thing. And then obviously we had an A.D. Mitchell game where in the first half, the only 3 incompletions that Fields had were all targets to A.D. Mitchell. I think he ended up with like 6 targets, 1 catch, and 3 drops, including a bomb, like the best pass that Justin Fields had in the game, put it in his hands deep down the field, didn't come up with it. And he roasted, that was Christian Gonzalez. Like he just smoked Christian Gonzalez and then drops the ball.
Double move, gets behind him.
That was that was the worst of it, but that was a classic A.D. Mitchell game where it's like you were just at the center of every bad thing that's happening in this passing attack right now.
Yeah, we're not going to spend a ton of time on it, but it is interesting watching A.D. He's just a fascinating player because you go through this scouting process and you look at the plays where he seemed like he was hanging in the air for these back shoulder throws. You see the athleticism, you see his ability to run and move, but there's such a technique part of the receiver position.
Oh, Milton Williams apparently went on IR yesterday. I missed that.
Oh, I didn't see that either. That's significant. He's been disruptive for that Patriots defense.
Appreciate the live fact check from Ben Stockwell.
Thank you, Ben. Well, I was going to call out Ben as well. So A.D. Mitchell's 1 catch was a slant, and I felt like saying every route that he ran in Indianapolis was all vertical, and every screw up was like, I don't think he ran to the right depth, or he's running a comeback and the QB's running a go. Maybe run more slants. Like you can't mess that up. I mean, that's usually not a read.
That's a good thing. Like it's pretty hard to screw up a slant.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
you
only
can drift
so much-
on it, you can change the angle, whatever,
Right.
but he caught the slant, and then it was, Ben texted me, he goes, man, first 5-yard stick route to A.D. Mitchell, he runs it at like 7 yards, and it looks like Fields misses the throw by a mile, and I think I texted you the same thing. I was like, any vertical route, I have zero faith that he's going to run it to the right depth, with the proper details and just be on the same page as the quarterback, and that's what you saw. And when he was on the same page, you're right, he dropped it.
There is limited scope for screwing up a slant. It's not impossible, but it's harder.
All that said, I mean, I think the Jets are making the right move to see what they have. John Mechie led the team with 45 receiving yards. See who could be part of the rebuild. See if you can get what you can out of A.D. Mitchell. But 6 targets, 1 catch, and it was either wrong route or drop passes on all those incompletions.
I endorse the idea of kicking the tires on somebody like A.D. Mitchell because he is so physically talented. Like the first half of that Gonzalez play, the fact that you're able to go out there and smoke Christian Gonzalez one-on-one down the sideline, there aren't that many wide receivers that can do that at all. So that's a reason to look at the guy. But there's also a reason the Colts were willing to throw him into that kind of deal as, what the hell? And it's a reason that extends beyond looking at the tape and being like, man, A.D. Mitchell's always open, Why are the Colts not using this guy? There's a reason they're not using him. If you just, paid attention a little bit, like it's not all positive for A.D. Mitchell. Unfortunately, that was a game where you saw all the negative too.
Did you see Renner's tweet on Friday?
No.
He showed all of A.D. Mitchell's routes right before the actual throw.
Yeah.
He was like, watch this great game by A.D. Mitchell. It's like him just cooking everybody and and he just cut it off before the throw and the, eventual drop. It was pretty hilarious.
Unfortunately, that is kind of what he does. Like and the other part of that is that half of those routes will not be whatever he's supposed to be running.
Yeah. Don't know if that's,
It's like, I can
what
get
the play
open.
calls for.
If you just let me do whatever I want to do, I can get open all the time. Will it, screw up other things? Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, New England, once again, impressive job by them, both sides of the ball. They come to Cincinnati next week. They have a Monday night game against the Giants. I feel like I recite this every week, but we're at the point of the season where you can start look ahead. Who do they play? Bengals, Giants, then a bye week, then the Bills, Ravens. So those are the 2 next big games for New England to prove that they could play against playoff caliber teams. Then they finish with the Jets and the Dolphins. So a huge opportunity for New England to not only win the AFC East, perhaps even a number 1 seed here at 9-2. Let's go to Sunday. Yesterday morning, started in Spain, the last international game of the year, the last morning game.
Yeah.
Miami Dolphins 16.
On to Australia now for next year.
When is that? Beginning of the season?
I assume. My guess was because it's like they're 16 hours ahead or something.
So you got to do it.
So my
really
assumption
early.
is it will be like morning/noon Australian time for like prime time. So I would say they do it like the Brazil game, like a Friday night, week 1.
Yeah,
that way it's Saturday.
The Eagles, because we're sending Mailata back there.
That way,
right?
Yeah, probably. That way it's like Saturday, Saturday 10 to noon or whatever. Australian time puts it in prime time window on Friday night here. Is my guess.
Player safety, doing this for the players.
Well, that's what you want.
Dolphins 16, Commanders 13. Overtime win for the Dolphins, who moved to 4-7. Commanders fall to 3-8. We made some jokes about what we were sending over to Madrid.
Field goals.
Yeah, we sent field goals.
Just like the Europeans won.
It was a couple 3-win teams, but a lot of kicking. And we sent them an overtime game, an entertaining overtime game.
Can I take a moment to complain
Yes.
about the announcers acting like the only thing Europeans want to see is kicks? They're European, they like soccer, so the only thing they want to see is field goals. They should be loving this. Look, there's another field goal. Way! It's like, how dumb do you need to be? They're watching football because they're football fans. Like, that's like thinking that Americans want to see, they're watching a soccer match and all they're looking for is throw-ins. Oh, man, it's another throw-in. Let's go. Right? That's what I'm familiar with. Like, they're watching it because they're football fans, not because they're like, transposed soccer fans that are only interested in the kicking element of the game. It's just a stupid thing to think. And yet every single broadcast that goes over to Europe, they're like, man, it's time to get jazzed. It's a field goal attempt again. Like, what do you do? No.
As a former European,
Well, as a current European until my
that's
application
true. Haven't fully
comes out of the black hole of bureaucracy that it's in at the moment.
Oh, man. Neil's from Europe. Hates soccer. Hates that game.
Yeah.
likes football. Mm-hmm. The people in the stadium are football fans. They want to see good ball.
Exactly.
And we sent Commanders Dolphins.
Right.
And kicks.
They're there because they're like
not
football,
excited about
not
that.
because they're looking for another sport that involves kicking.
They are excited about the overtime game, though. Marcus Mariota, overtime interception, sets up the Dolphins game-winning.
He'd done so well as well. Like he'd played pretty impressly, Marcus, and he took off with the scramble and was a big part of them being in the game.
Yeah.
And then, then went Marcus Mariota again.
Yeah. On his own 35, Dolphins finished it with a 29-yard field goal. Again, I watch the morning games. I watch without sound. So did not get to see or hear the discourse when Miami went for it on 4th and 1. Tie game, 4th and 1 on the Washington 1. They run up the middle, lose 2 yards. So they try to...
They got stuffed like twice, back-to-back.
Right, back-to-back runs.
Javon Kinlaw makes a great play at the goal line on 3rd and goal, tackle for no gain. Then the next play is Frankie Louvu on 4th and goal, stuffs it.
What were your thoughts on that? Again, so it's tie games, 13-13. There's a minute 44 left. Miami decides to not kick the field goal to go up 16-13. They go for it. They get stopped. Washington, we eventually go to overtime. Anyway, Washington misses a 56-yard field goal at the buzzer, or close to the buzzer, we'll say. And Miami gets the win in overtime. I assuming it was a take the points discourse?
So I don't know. I assumed there was, but I wasn't. I had it on in the gym. I say the gym, I mean my basement.
Yeah.
But I used to have this old TV that came from my parents' house, which is it's new enough to be like a modern television, like flat, but it's old enough that it's definitely not smart, right? So unfortunately, it's basically useless in my gym because there's no connection to anything. So I took that off the wall, replaced it with a newer TV that actually has connectivity and stuff. So I'm like, this is great. I can watch the Madrid game, the Spain game, and actually do some exercise on a Sunday morning.
And get your work.
So I was doing that. So I wasn't on Twitter figuring out, but yeah, I assume the standard, kick your point.
It was an interesting decision. I'm not saying right or wrong. I think, Miami running it right up the gut.
That's the most interesting element to me. Miami's, Mike McDaniel's still doing some cool stuff. Like you watch them in this game, and the most interesting element of what Miami's doing is some of the creativity still. And then on that situation, they're like, well, we got 3rd and 4th and goal. We're going to become a power-running football team now because we need to. And they ran up. I think the first one was with Devin Achane, who's amazing and was phenomenal in this game again. And then that got stuffed. They're like, I got the solution. I know what went wrong. Achane, sideline, please. Ollie, out you go. Ollie Gordon, 235 pounds or whatever he is. Ollie goes in. You're like, that'll fix it. Now we got a power back in there. And it just, same thing. It just got stuff. Like your offensive line is still Miami's offensive line. You're not going to fix it just by putting in a bigger guy. Like what?
Yeah.
You're not a power football team. Come up with something creative.
So 3rd and 4th and 1, they get stopped. Power run game. It felt like one of those, like in the preseason you do that to kind of instill some toughness, some physicality. In the preseason, it's like, we're going to go for it on 4th and short. We're just going to, work on this play. Didn't feel like the best play call for Miami. I don't hate the decision, of course. I usually lean toward going for it because you give Washington a long field. It's not and we're going to be saying this every single week. Had Miami kicked the field goal, given Washington about a minute 40 to get a kickoff return, probably have a good starting field position, get down into field goal range to tie it. Of course, your defense could make a stop.
Right.
But there's a very likely scenario that you kick the field goal, then Washington kicks a field goal, and you're in overtime anyway. So Miami's playing their odds. We'd rather have them chasing a touchdown to get to overtime. And if we don't get it, they got to go the entire field. And it turns out, 56-yard or whatever it was, the field position mattered, right? Like Washington moved the ball that far, but not close enough to get into field goal range. So ultimately it works out, but I think, still talking through some of those decisions is important.
I saw somebody's, go for it model. I forget who it was. They were like, it's basically the break-even point was 55%, I think. If they think they have a better than 55% chance of converting on the play, go for it. So.
Yeah. And as soon as you run it up the gut, it's probably 20% with Miami's offensive line. But
they put in a power back.
But I get it from a decision standpoint. So, look, Miami, couple wins now in a row, beat Buffalo in 3 out of 4 weeks, by the way. Beat Atlanta, beat Buffalo last week. and then beat the Commanders. They're sitting here at 4-7, at least trending in the right direction. They didn't. I mean, the way Washington's defense had been playing, I still thought Miami might have a little bit more success there.
Dude, so they had some chances in this game. I mean, both teams did. Devon Achane is so good for Miami. Unfortunately, he's kind of the only one at this point. So there's a big part of this game that was just like, how much can he individually carry them? Washington's defense is so bad that they're using Mikey Sanderstill as like he's their version of Kyle Hamilton, which is like wherever the problem is, just put Mikey and he'll make it better. And he does. Like it's kind of
player. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good and he does, like, he is versatile and he does improve things, but only because the things are that bad to begin with. Like Kyle Hamilton will improve basically anybody's defense no matter where you put him. Mikey will improve Washington's defense because they're that bad. And unfortunately for him, he had a game where like they had him sort of filling in, and everywhere he filled in, he kind of screwed something up a little bit. Like he dropped an interception, which was a good play to be in position, but he then had the interception in his hands, couldn't come up with it. He also got put back to return punts because their punt returner wasn't there, and obviously you put Mikey there. He's the guy you get to fill in, and unfortunately he muffs his first punt. Miami takes over and sets them up in a really good spot with a tied football game. It's like I feel bad because he's, their best secondary player. But unfortunately, him being asked to fill in everywhere didn't do him or them any favors in this game. The other element is after that stuff for Miami at the goal line, where Washington's driving to get the field goal to tie it up, Chris Moore drops a touchdown, like right before the 50, whatever it was, field goal attempt. The safety had a piece of his arm, but then let it go. And then it was like he thought, I've already got one arm because this guy's got hold of the other one, so I just won't even bother trying to catch it with the second one. Had he actually gone with two hands, it's in the end zone, it's in his hands. You catch that, you win the game.
Chris Moore still making, still getting reps here. It's been a fascinating career for Moore at wide receiver. A couple years ago, just like a random deep threat for the Titans. Anyway, Dolphins 4-7, Commanders rough season, falling to 3-8. They probably needed. These teams are both at you got to win out to even, have any kind of playoff hopes, outside playoff hopes, salvage your season. Washington now falling to 3-8. I know Jaden Daniels with the dislocated elbow. There was talk about him coming back, but the more they lose, the less I think we're going to see of Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I feel like both these two teams are. They're not playoff teams.
Yes.
Like there's a weird subsection of Miami fans that don't seem to accept the reality of this season, which is, you're 4-7 and have very few good players right now. Like this is not a, you're looking to the future, like whether, however far into the distance you want to project that's fine. But, you're not a serious team now.
Yeah. I haven't run into those Miami fans yet, but.
Oh, they're there.
They're not looking great, but trending in the right direction right now at 4-7. I got no more use for this game. Let's get to the rest of the Sunday slate, starting with the Buffalo Bills 44, Tampa Bay Bucks 32. Buffalo keeping pace in the AFC East as best they can with the Patriots 7-3 now. Bucks fall to 6-4, and with the Panthers win, Bucks are now clinging to a half-game lead over the 6-5 Panthers, and they still have to play each other twice. We'll talk more about that as we go here. But Buffalo gets the win. Josh Allen with 6 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 3 passing, 19 of 30 for 317 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 picks as well. Some ugly ones in there. This was a wild roller coaster of a game that featured 9 lead changes.
Yeah.
9.
It was one of those games where
44-32 is the score, by the way.
There are some games where you go through and you're sort of vaguely sketching out a chronology of how it goes, and then there are games like this where it's like there's no point in even trying to navigate this. It's just there's a lead change every 3 seconds. It's going back and forth. There's crazy plays all over the place. There's no point trying to maintain a narrative of this game because there's just too much.
It also never got outside of one score at any point. It was always a one-score game. So sometimes you get the back-and-forth game, but at least a team got up by 10 and then they, blow it or whatever it is. Never got outside of one score until Buffalo, put back-to-back touchdowns together in the fourth quarter. Let's start with Josh Allen because it started with one of those panic interceptions from the end zone, and he's kind of like half shovel pass, half just late under pressure, throws it to Jacob Parrish, and I'm over here saying, nothing's wrong with the Bills. Just don't turn it over. Remember, like we spent Wednesday, there's nothing wrong with you Bills. You'll figure it out. You'll be fine. Just don't turn it over. And they, early in the first quarter, Josh Allen turns it over, leads to a touchdown for the Bucs. And it's like, all right, well, if you're going to keep playing like that, that's, not going to be good.
Well, those plays, there were quarterbacks throughout history that tried to make plays like that all the time, and usually they didn't work, and usually they end up exactly the way this one ended up. And the sort of freaky thing about Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and this new era of quarterbacks is their success rate on those what look like crazy throws is insanely high, and the damage rate in terms of how many times they put it directly in the hands of a defender is extremely low. And so you've just sort of taken it for read that they, whatever it is, they're just able to do that. And this is the play that you expect to happen all the time with those throws. It's like slightly panicked, weird sort of shovel, like basketball-y chest pass. Let's just get it out, flick it in the general direction of somebody. And then, no, there's a defender there. Like they're able to make that play. It's kind of amazing that doesn't happen all the time, but it doesn't. But Allen makes the big mistake on this occasion.
Second interception, threw it right to Tyke Smith, who tipped it up, and Servache Dennis caught the ball. So it was like two pretty bad decisions from Allen on those two particular interceptions. And then I know it was 3rd and long, and he was kind of taking a chance, but he started to run. He runs and he tries to throw the backwards pass. Like Allen was in one of those modes.
Well, it felt like,
and it worked both ways. I'm starting with the negative parts of Allen's game because obviously he did have the 6 touchdowns and had some huge plays in there. But didn't it feel early on like there's some games where he's like, I'm putting the cape on, let's go. We've got these offensive issues. We're coming off this Miami game. I'm going to make the plays. But early on, it felt like they were pressing plays, right? Interception, and then it's like 3rd and 15 or whatever. He's scrambling, he's looking around, and he throws. The physics doesn't work. He tries to throw it backwards. It's a illegal forward pass beyond the line of scrimmage. He was trying to do a lot in this game.
And not just them, but it felt like, or not just him, but it felt like the Bills, period, were pressing early in this game. It's almost like they were acutely aware that they needed this game. So you have the crazy Allen interception, shovel pass from his own end zone thing. But like very early, they go for 4th and 4 at the Tampa Bay 30. Like that's an aggressive move. Early in a game against a team like Tampa Bay, they get it. They get a touchdown on that drive. Allen's, power play, so they're 7-3 up. Like early on, it felt like Buffalo across the board were pressing, and obviously Josh Allen is the biggest part of that, or the guy that takes most responsibility for that. But yeah, it was strange how kind of forced the whole thing felt from Buffalo's perspective.
So that just stood out to me early, and then obviously the Bills ended up they made some big plays. It was really windy, big wind weather advocate over here when we're as an apologist to quarterbacks. The difficulty in throwing in the wind didn't matter with the Tyrell Shavers touchdown for 43 yards. Your guy Keon Coleman
benched. What about my guy Keon Coleman? How's he my guy?
He's not. The hot button. He was a hot button issue.
Healthy scratch.
Keon Coleman. 3rd.
Allegedly not for performance reasons.
Well, 3rd disciplinary action against Keon Coleman. And Shavers, was he a late round or undrafted free agency out of San Diego State? Flashing the last couple preseasons. He did a really nice job. 4 catches in this game, had the touchdown. Allen had one of those plays. It's a 3-man rush. He's scrambling around forever and finds Shavers for a 43-yard touchdown. Cut in the wind, didn't matter. So they had some big plays down the field. They had a little swing pass to Ty Johnson. Every time we cite, Josh Allen had 6 touchdowns. Yeah, one was like a 52-yard little swing screen, not to take anything away from Allen. But the
also
Bucs
got James Cook matched up on a defensive end.
That's it. Like they had the swing screen to Ty Johnson, get James Cook on Yaya Diaby down the field?
No,
or is it Anthony Nelson? Anthony Nelson. Yeah, I had it in my notes. Could have just Cook isolated on Anthony Nelson. Great play call in my notes. Apologies. They did a nice job creating those mismatches. And it's interesting when you go up against the Bucs defense because they blitz so much, they do drop their defensive ends into coverage quite a bit. And they're not like some of the other teams that have these undersized defensive ends that they drop into coverage. It's guys like Anthony Nelson who are like 280 or whatever. Buffalo did a really nice job creating some of those mismatches. Allen went into Superman mode for better or for worse. And, of course, once they get into the low red zone, he is a bit of a cheat code when it comes to QB sneaks and running the ball.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, it's unstoppable, the stuff that they run him the way the Giants were running Jackson Dart, and he just isn't susceptible to the same, every 3 minutes you're going to come out and get evaluated for concussion because he's huge. Josh Allen just barrels over people, and it doesn't make any difference. Just when trailing in this game, he had over 300 total yards and 5 total touchdowns. And they won the game by 12 points, or whatever it was.
Impressive.
Utterly insane.
It felt. We were trying to. I spend the Thursday show breaking down the scenarios and taking a lot of time to explain what's at stake, right? And when you were talking about what was at stake in this game, if Buffalo wants to come back and win the East, if they lose this game, almost no chance,
right? Because
of New England's schedule. The Bucs, what was at stake? Well, they're sitting. What happened? Panthers win. They're now a half game up in the division. So there was a lot, but this definitely felt like a break glass in case of emergency Josh Allen game. We come in here on a Monday morning quite a bit over the last couple of years, and I usually compliment the Bills when they win without this type of performance from Josh Allen. The game where James Cook goes for 150 and 2 touchdowns, when it is more of a run game, when the defense makes plays, or when it's, say, a yak-heavy type of game, and the tight ends and the running backs do a lot of the heavy lifting. They put a lot on Josh Allen, or Josh Allen put a lot on himself. I think he was pressing early, but he didn't implode after pressing. Instead, it was just a full, hey, there'll be some high variance in this one. There'll be some bad plays, but far more good than bad. And at the end of the day, you score 44 points. And a Buffalo offense that was, inconsistent the first half of the season has all these explosive plays in this one game.
It is just kind of fascinating how much they seem to decide that this game needed to be full send the whole way against Tampa Bay, who, they're good, but they've lost to Philadelphia, they've lost to Detroit, they've lost to New England before this game. They're at the moment in that kind of bracket of, they beat bad teams, maybe lose to good teams. It feels like the kind of game we're going into it. You could say, maybe our regular game will beat Tampa Bay. And then if we need to break glass in emergency in the fourth quarter, Josh Allen can put on the cape and take over. Instead, from minute one, they were like, no, this needs to be full send the whole way. Tampa Bay, we need to bring the A game. Josh Allen needs to be Josh Allen for the whole performance for us to have any shot in this game. It was just strange that seemed to be the determination from the get-go.
On the other side, and by the way, facing the Bucs, they held James Cook to 3 yards per carry. That is the type of game where maybe it's difficult running up the gut on them. I suggested maybe you could run outside. They didn't really get anything going from a run game perspective, so maybe part of how it became more of a Allen take over type of game. From a Bucs perspective, on the other side, still some serious inconsistency with their pass game. Baker finishes 16 of 28 for 173, touchdown and a pick. Had some drops in there as well.
The pick was ugly.
It was. And Cole Bishop, man, just continues.
Dude, he's just lights out at the moment.
He is. And, I thought he was a second-round pick, really athletic safety out of Utah, and coverage wasn't his thing. He was, when you're evaluating college prospects, you don't always know the play call or, who's at fault for everything. But he was, like we talked about with some other players, adjacent to a lot of coverage busts.
Yeah.
He was involved in a lot of that. But I think when he peeled off his coverage and just made a great athletic play. So now you're talking Cole Bishop he made a ton of huge plays against Kansas City 2 weeks ago, just using his athleticism and athletic safeties who aren't great all-around football players. That doesn't always work. But for Cole Bishop, he is on a run right now where that athleticism shows up 2 or 3 times a game. And that interception was outstanding.
I wonder how important, bringing Jordan Poyer back has been to him. This old veteran safety who's been in the system, for a long time before he before he departed and comes back. That kind of veteran presence and partner in the back end could be hugely beneficial to somebody like Cole Bishop, young, athletic safety trying to find his way. But he's been absolutely lights out the last few weeks.
Had the Bills not pulled away late, we'd be trashing their run defense, and that was real. That's how the Bucs stayed in this. So I'm talking about their uneven passing attack. But Sean Tucker running hard again, 2 touchdowns, including a 43-yarder. Rashad White had over 5 yards per carry. Their backs went for over 150 yards on 29 carries between Tucker and White.
Yeah, without their lead back.
Still without Bucky Irving, right? I mean, so I think Buffalo's run defense, they got gashed a little bit. They let lost contain, let the Bucs break outside a little bit. Tucker ran the ball extremely well again. Also caught a touchdown in there. So 3 touchdowns for Tucker. He's had some huge games over the last couple of years as a number 3 back every time he has to fill in.
All 3 of those backs in that backfield are talented. It's, Bucky Irving being so good the way he was kind of made everybody forget about the other 2, but the other 2 are good. They've got 3 running backs that can all do damage.
Yeah, and look, the defense let them down in this game. I think they still need to find some more rhythm offensively, through the air. Since Mike Evans' second injury, I think they dealt with Evans' first injury pretty well earlier in the year, but since his second injury, had a difficult time moving the ball through the air. I know they put up 32 points in this one, but had some short fields with the turnovers and everything. That's I think a factor here for Tampa Bay these last couple weeks as they move to 6-4, and again, only a half game up on the Panthers in the South right now.
Tony Holtzman Escareno tweeted that Josh Allen now has 10 career games with 3 or more touchdown passes and 1 or more rushing touchdowns, which is now the most by any player in NFL history. He just broke a tie with Drew Brees and Tom Brady, who both had 9 such games. And obviously theirs is very heavily weighted towards the passing with a rushing touchdown in there, i.e. a sneak.
And Allen tied Cam Newton for most regular season rushing touchdowns.
I'm pretty sure. I think he tied him with the first one, maybe, or the second one.
But Allen's going to continue to stack up.
He's going to have 100 plus. Records. He's going to have 100 plus rushing touchdowns. He's going to be top 5 all time of all players for rushing touchdowns. Forget quarterbacks. Derrick Henry is 4th or 5th all time with 105 or something. Allen's going to get there without that much longer.
Yeah. He's only...
It's going to be like Emmitt Smith, LaDainian Tomlinson, Josh Allen by the end of their careers.
Only 9 years into his career. And overall, been, as you said, pretty durable for a guy that plays like that. So, impressive win for Buffalo as they get back on track, bounce back from last week's beatdown against the Dolphins.
I just wanted to, going back to the Keon Coleman thing for a beat. Obviously, healthy scratch of your your first round wide receiver. He was first round, right? Last pick of the
second round.
Second round.
Late,
early
pick
of the second round. Yeah. When you're effectively benching that guy, that's pretty catastrophic this early into his career, regardless of what the reason is, whether it's performance or attitude, or disciplinary, or whatever you want to say. That's not great. I think we're back to this idea of he's just not the receiver that the Bills think he is in terms of stylistically, whatever about how good he is. He's not the player that they think he is style-wise. But also you're getting this ton of you're getting all the revisionist history of wow. Because remember, there's a gaggle of wide receivers at the bottom of that first round, top of the second round area. The Bills picked the wrong one. It is interesting, though, now, looking back at the decision and sort of going, well, okay, forget the fact that they initially started off a little bit higher because they were in the position that Kansas City ended up picking in, right?
27?
28.
28 where Worthy was picked?
Yeah, so theoretically you can say, well, you could have picked 28 and had your selection of any of these guys, even if you give them that spot. Xavier Worthy was the receiver that got taken at that spot that they traded out of. Then you got Ricky Pearsall at 31, Xavier Legette, 32, then Keon Coleman, 33. Ladd McConkey's the next guy. So he's the one where you'd be like, if you had Ladd McConkey versus Keon Coleman right now, I think you'd be a lot happier. But after that, Jalen Polk, 37, has been a complete and total disaster. Then Adonai Mitchell, who we just talked about as being the source of every bad thing that happens in an offense. Malachi Corley, 3rd round, utter disaster. Jermaine Burton, 3rd round, even worse disaster, albeit one that you could have seen coming. Roman Wilson, 3rd round, pretty disaster adjacent, shall we say. Jalen McMillan, good player, hurt at the moment. And then you're down to Luke McCaffrey's of the world. This is what looked like a spectacular wide receiver class is actually not turning out that way necessarily. So as much as doesn't look like Keon Coleman was the right pick for Buffalo, it's not as easy as it looked to find the right pick from that group.
And if in hindsight, obviously, you'd say Ladd McConkey.
Right.
But with foresight, we probably would have said Ladd McConkey, too.
But at the time,
we
it was
mocked him to Buffalo and Carolina
and
San Francisco a couple times.
Yeah.
But Either way,
You would say Ladd McConkey.
Worthy would have been interesting, though, for
Yeah.
Buffalo with his speed.
But at the time, it felt like, other than Keon Coleman, Keon Coleman never felt like a good fit for Buffalo. But at the time, it's like that entire gaggle of wide receiver was sort of just pick your flavor, right? They're all more or less in the same area in terms of talent, ability, what they're going to be. They're all going to be good players. Now it's like Ladd McConkey's the best of that group, but if you picked any of the other ones, you're not loving life right now.
Except Leggett later yesterday for Carolina. It's got those flashes. Anything else on Bucks Bills before we move on?
Mm-mm.
All right, let's go Jacksonville Jaguars. Dominant, definitive win over the Los Angeles Chargers.
Statement.
35-6. Jags bounced back from their heartbreaker last week against the Texans. I'll probably keep citing that because they blew a 29-10 fourth quarter lead, and that's like if they were sitting here at 7-3, it's a lot different than 6-4. But impressive job by Jacksonville. I want to talk about Liam Cohen a bunch in this one. Impressive job by the Jags. They moved to 6-4, and ugly one for the Chargers as they fall to 7-4. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah. Somebody pointed out that the Chargers just can't play in Florida, I think is the problem. Unfortunately,
Something to that.
They're already banged up. Kamani Vidal hurt early in the game, so now you're down to third string running back at the moment. They got behind, and then you're behind with no run game and an offensive line that's in bits. Kind of recipe for disaster.
Herbert was banged up for a minute, then came back in.
I mean, this is the problem. So there's a guy on Twitter that hates the fact that I keep bringing up that this sort of looming specter of what happens if and when Justin Herbert gets hurt and has to start playing hurt. Because the difference between him and, like what happens if any quarterback goes down? The difference is Herbert has been playing through a lot of injuries in his career. And the second that starts to happen, he stops being MVP caliber, elite level, top-end quarterback Justin Herbert and goes back to being, well, he's capable of spectacular plays, but overall you're not going to get the same performance. Unfortunately, I think it's just an inevitability with that offensive line right now. And so you're just dealing with this, like, when does this happen? Because as soon as it happens, it's game over.
Jags got really good production out of their running backs. LaQuint Allen ran the ball too, but Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin finished with 34 carries for 147 yards. I thought they did. Tutin especially ran for 7 first downs, including a touchdown. They did a really nice job, I think, using both of those backs, using Etienne with a direct snap near the goal line. I mentioned Liam Cohen. I thought this was a great Liam Cohen offensive play calling, offensive design game from the Jags. They had several good plays in this game where they had your favorite, the leak, which we call yoink, the tight end yoink play, where Trevor Lawrence. So it was a weird one because he rolled out and then there was quick pressure. And then it looked like he was trying to roll out left. I don't think that was part of the design, but it was wide open and he underthrew it and kind of got blown up, but that was wide open. Came back a couple plays later. They did one of the fake double screen, and then the tight end leaks over the middle again for a big play. They had the direct snap to Etienne, the direct snap to Trevor Lawrence on the goal line where he just ran up the gut for a touchdown. And then even the touchdown to the great Tim Patrick. Another one, fake double play action, wide open over the middle. It felt like Liam Cohen was in his bag. The offense did a really nice job from a design standpoint. And then just high level for a first-year head coach, I think these things matter. I look at these things a lot. When you come off of heartbreak and a disastrous fourth quarter performance, how do you respond? And if the Jags had laid an egg 2 weeks in a row and let last week's loss affect them this week, their whole season could spiral. And the Jags had a season spiral 2 years ago. Remember, they were this very week 2 years ago. I believe they were 8-3.
This very week.
This week or next week. 8-3, number 1 seed. And they did not make the playoffs, right? Imagine the Colts sitting here at 8-2, not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
That was the Jags 2 years ago, right? And they had it spiral. And I think just not having it spiral so far after the Houston game is huge. And I thought Liam Cohen, overall, just the rallying the troops, having them play their best game, for some of the play calls and the design, I think that is a big factor for Jacksonville here because they're still in the playoff picture. They're 6-4, and they didn't let last week's loss affect them.
And, winning a game this definitively without Trevor Lawrence playing lights out football. Like, this is the interesting thing about Jacksonville this season is even when they're good, even when they're winning games, even when they're dominant, almost always it's come without Trevor Lawrence being the thing that's driving this team forward. And theoretically, there's still that room for growth, for being even better. Like, everyone expected Trevor Lawrence to take this big step forward with Liam as the head coach. Actually, it seems like he's the last thing to take the step forward. Everything else is better. The run game's better. Everything's better except Trevor Lawrence. So, and we know he's capable of better play than this. Like, we've seen it. So there is still this world where Trevor Lawrence actually does start to play much better within this Liam Cohen offense, and then the Jags become a serious threat to anybody in the AFC. I can't believe we've gotten this far into this game without you mentioning the name Tony Brackens, because there's an opportunity to.
It's in my notes. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know me well.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Jaguars defensive end, Josh Hines-Allen.
Which allows you to talk about Tony Brackens.
Yes.
Because why?
Josh Hines-Allen is now the all-time Jaguars sack leader,
Yep.
passing the great Tony Brackens.
Uh-huh.
The Myles Garrett of his day, Tony Brackens. From 1996 to 2001-ish, Tony Brackens, maybe the most underrated defensive end in the entire NFL. Mm-hmm. Dominant. He had an 8 forced fumble season.
Really?
In 99. 8 forced fumbles.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Jaguars sack leader, and he only really had like 5 full seasons.
The TJ Watt of his day, then.
He's better than Watt. Wow. Tony Brackens, better than Watt. That's Seth. That's Seth Payne. He played next to him.
Well, he's a turncoat now.
Seth would sit there,
he's busy telling
eat up blockers so Tony could have his one-on-ones.
Well, he's busy telling you about the Texans players. He's got no interest in the
I
Jags
mean, Seth doesn't care anymore about the Jags. But Tony Brackens was great. Picked off passes.
Uh-huh.
He was just always in and around turnovers. And then he had microfracture knee surgery.
Oh, that used to be just the death.
That used to be. Remember when you heard an NFL
microfracture
player,
was like game over.
When you had the microfracture, it was like, we're not great at the surgery yet, but we have to do it. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, Tony's his career was pretty much done.
It always sounded bad. I mean, once you even forget microfracture as a word, once you heard it, you're like, uh-oh, that guy, we may never see him the same again. But when you actually investigated what microfracture surgery was, it always sounded problematic. Like, that just doesn't sound like a good way of improving things. You know what I mean?
Do a little microfracture surgery.
Yeah. So that was always rough.
So it was really, Brackens played, he did come back and play double-digit games in 2003 after the surgery. Only 6 sacks, but he was an outstanding player. So congrats to Josh Hines-Allen. Brackens led the league in forced fumbles twice, actually. 6 in 97, 8 in 99. And he was second-team All-Pro that year.
Yeah. This game also featured one of the worst roughing the passer calls you're ever going to see. It was on like a 4th down play that offset a penalty. Like, the Chargers had a penalty on the play. I forget what it was. 4th down, they're going for it. He sacks. Justin Herbert is in trouble, turns basically into an unblocked dude who just sacks him, right? So he turns into the sack, gets like blasted to the floor. But the guy doesn't even fall on him. It's not even one where he turns into the sack. The guy textbook tackle, but spear tackles him into the floor. And you can't do that. Can't fall on a quarterback. He sacks him in such a way that they come down where Herbert is flat in his back, and the guy sacking him, I didn't even remember who it was, is off to the side. So that both bodies hit the ground side by side, and it's only his arm driving him into the turf. I don't know what else you can expect that guy to do at all.
Literally. He just completed
textbook play, even in this ridiculous world of this is everything you got to do as a defensive lineman to sack a quarterback is so insane at this point. By the letter of the law, he ticks every single box. There's literally nothing more he can do in that play.
In that same game, right? Didn't Herbert get knocked back?
No, it was Trey Lance. Late in the game, the game's dead. And again, I forget who it was. Another Jags defensive lineman gets clean on the quarterback, running straight at him, grabs hold of him, is driving him backwards, and then lets up effectively. Basically leaves him, because if he drives him over, we've already seen some ridiculous call where a guy just tackled him to the floor, and that draws a flag. So he basically falls off. And Trey Lance just, look, I'm free, runs and throws a pass. And the Jags lineman is like, you're like, I get it. That's a perfect example of the first time you just tackled a dude to the floor. Flag, on a really critical moment, like fourth down, offsetting penalty. And then later in the game, literally conditioned, the guy has to be like, I can't finish this play. If I tackle this guy just to the floor, they're going to throw a flag on me and call it roughing the passer. That's a problem. Like, the NFL can't. I mean, just that 2-play sequence should be put on a video and sent to NFL head offices.
This is what you're doing.
Fix this. This can't happen within a game. You cannot have this play drawing a flag and then this play being the result of it.
We missed the pass interference that was called on Jack Jones from in the Miami-Washington game too. Did you see that? I mean, it was awful. I mean, he didn't even there was literally not even contact, and they just called it. And then this is a banner week for awful phantom
golden
pass interference calls.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's my biggest issue is across the league when you just watch similar plays and then you get a different result, and the result is 40-yard first down versus incomplete. It's like there's such a huge difference in the result based off of the random judgment call. And then so the roughing the passer thing, though, I've heard Blandino talk about it. I don't know if it was in public or part of our private calls here, but he was using the phrase like if it's just a normal tackle, forget the Siragusa weight.
Right.
Like, I kind of get like when they first did the weight on the quarterback thing, it was a little jarring, I think, because you've been watching football forever. It's like, how do you even tackle the quarterback without your weight going on him? And to the credit of defenders around the league,
they have adjusted.
Right? They have started. You can tell when they're really dropping their weight.
I mean, even like this is a good example. The one that got flagged is a good example of the adjustment because he does not drive him.
He just tackles
shoulder first, spear tackle into the turf.
So you're allowed.
He falls to the side.
You're allowed to tackle them hard.
Yes.
And actually have them hit the ground hard. You're not allowed to put arms up, drop your weight on top of them.
Well, there's that, and there's the old school. I've basically manufacture this position where I have like a textbook spear tackle on him to then drive him into the ground with your shoulder. Like those two things. You're not allowed to do the old sumo splash and just fall on him.
Or the shoulder.
Or I have him in my shoulder. I'm going to drive him shoulder first into the turf. You're not allowed to do either of those two things, and I kind of get that. But again, in this particular scenario, he didn't do any of those things. He just hit him so hard that they threw a flag, which wasn't even his fault because Herbert turned into it.
Yeah. Anyway, those were some rough ones.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend too much time on the officiating, but
rough day
credit
for Herbert, by the way. I mean, there was play action, clean pocket. Herbert sails a pass over. Ladd McConkey turns it over. You're like, at that point, just pack it up and go home. That's just not your day.
It was already 28-6 at that point.
Yeah, they were already dead and buried. I mean, they needed a touchdown drive on that drive to even have a prayer in the game, and he immediately turns it over, and you're like, just go home. It's not your day.
I don't think the offensive line was great, but I don't think they were actually getting wrecked like they did in other games, and Herbert still finishes 10 of 18 for 81 yards in that pick. So, yeah, it was an ugly one for Justin Herbert. Credit the Jags, their defense, and, again, Liam Cohen, I thought, just rallying the troops and what they did offensively. Great job by Jacksonville. Let's go. Carolina Panthers get the win over the Atlanta Falcons, 30-27 in overtime. Bryce Young finishes 31 of 45 for 448. That's 10 yards per attempt, Sam.
Yeah, it is.
He's usually calibrated to 5 yards per attempt.
Correct.
He decided to go 10 on 45 attempts and 3 touchdowns.
He's usually calibrated to around 200 passing yards and ends up with 450.
He just doubled everything.
He really did.
Bryce just doubled everything in this game. Falcons fall to 3-7. Panthers move to 6-5, and now again half game behind the Bucs. I thought Bryce Young just looked better, man. I'm watching this game, especially when they're starting to make their comeback and the Penix injury happens and everything. I'm like, this just feels like the Panthers game. Bryce Young looked completely different. The way he was carrying himself. I don't know if he's just the easiest guy to read. Like, there was a scramble drill play early in the game that he made to find, I think it was probably Tedero McMillan. And I was like, he's just feeling it. Like, last year at this time, when he started to turn his season around and we'd come in and break down his excellent 160-yard passing game with 4 big-time throws that were dropped, it'd be like, he's feeling it, right? plays inside of structure, outside of structure, confidence. He's not turning it over the way he had. Like in this game, he wasn't putting the ball in harm's way, really. So I was just impressed by Bryce Young. This didn't look like anything he had done previously, and it looked more like his best games that he had last year.
I mean, we knew, look, coming into this game, these are two of the most confusing teams in the NFL. So something confusing was going to happen in this game. The one thing that I did not expect to happen was for Bryce Young to catch absolute fire and turn into one of the most productive quarterbacks in the NFL from a pure volume standpoint. This game accounts for 23% of Bryce Young's passing yards this season. We're in week 11.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's it's nuts. Like, Mike Renner was busy talking about he's going to set the all-time record for fewest passing yards in a season. And this game on its own prevents that from happening, basically. Utterly ridiculous explosion of production. And he did that despite being hurt. I mean, early in the game, he's absolutely blasted by Billy Bowman, unblocked on a blitz, gets hurt, gets his ankle all strapped up. Like later in the game, he gets crushed and somebody falls on that ankle as well. So the dude was hobbled and still out here putting up this kind of stat line.
Yeah, I was just really impressed, man, by Bryce. Hit Xavier Legette for a really nice touchdown. And that was the other part, too. It wasn't just Teterow and McMillan, who did finish with 8 for 130 and 2 touchdowns, but Legette made some plays. Dowdle out of the backfield almost had the go-ahead touchdown, stepped out of bounds late in regulation. And then when they got to overtime, Tommy Tremble with a 54-yarder to put the Panthers into game-winning field goal territory. A great catch and run from Tommy Tremble. They got Jalen Coker with 4 for 52. They just got a lot more contributions from the pass game as well, while Bryce Young was playing with this confidence.
Yeah, I mean, part of that insane stat line is almost 250 yards after the catch for the Panthers. Like, Atlanta's defense just kept coughing up these plays where even when they get beaten, they're then getting beaten after the play as well and allowing a ton of yards after the catch. I mean, early in the game, Carolina goes for it on 4th down, and it's like a decent catch and run by Xavier Legette. You get this monster run and catch on a deep dig to McMillan. I thought we'd see more of that in his rookie year than we have so far, but it's there. Yeah, and then obviously that overtime, Atlanta's defense just completely craps itself against Tommy Tremble on a simple underneath route, and then I'm going to run through the entire defense and set it up.
I mean, if you told me Rico Dowdle is going to go 19 carries for 45 yards, think about the number of games where he's going for $150 and Bryce is throwing for $140 or whatever. The number of times where it was all run game for Carolina. They couldn't get the pass game going whatsoever. That script completely flipped, and the Panthers showed that they could win that style of game. From Atlanta's perspective, that's rough, man. They're on the receiving end of the Panthers' best passing performance by a mile. Again, Bryce Young doubling everything, going up against this Falcons defense. And it's just a massive disappointment for them, too. Michael Penix, he looked like he had bounced back from a disastrous game last time against Carolina. He was 13 of 16 for 175, getting the ball to Drake London, getting the ball to Bijan out of the backfield. Bijan's running hard, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and Penix gets hurt again.
Yeah. And not just that, but think of how this game got away from them. I mean, they were 21-10 up at halftime in total control of the game. Carolina gets a touchdown to start the third quarter, and then Atlanta immediately screws up the kickoff return. The guy muffs the kick, then gets it back in, runs it out, and then loses it, fumbles it. Carolina jumps on the ball, recovers, featuring one of the most tragic butcherings of a pronunciation I've ever heard. Scott Hansen desperately trying to come up with the name, Uman Mielen. Didn't go well.
What did he come up with? It's not fair. We shouldn't make fun of him. It's not easy pulling a name out the first time you see it.
It's not.
First time he hasn't been calling that on Red Zone.
No, he hasn't. But it was it didn't even end up as a name. It was just a collection of syllables that got thrown together as let's hope this is somewhere in the vicinity, and it wasn't. The point is, Carolina touchdown, fumble kickoff, and then immediately you're right back, in serious, not charge of the game, but what was a comfortable lead for Atlanta just disappears almost instantly.
Yeah, that was Young to Legette for 36. They fumble the kickoff. Eventually it's 21-19. And then the key here, too, like Bryce Young on 3rd and goal from the 12 with 1:15 left hits Tedero McMillan. That's where I think I may have sent you a message there, too. I'm like, Bryce he just looks like he's going to get it done, right? Like, I hate being like a body language guy or whatever. Sometimes you just see Bryce Young and you're like, he looks like Bama Bryce Young, where he's going to play like one of the best players on the field and win the Heisman Trophy and make huge throws when they need to. It just felt that way yesterday with Bryce Young, and that's different. I hadn't felt that all season. I felt that at times last year, right? The number of times that he broke out, and I said 4 or 5 plays where you're like, man, he's a natural playmaker at his best. And I had not seen that this year until this game. So he puts them up 3. The Falcons still come back, get into field goal range with Kirk Cousins, who is working with an absolute squirt gun right now of an arm. And they tie it up at 27, and then they go, 3 and out in overtime. Anytime Cousins throws the ball down the field, it is like, it's just not great right now.
No. I mean, he doesn't look, this idea of him, trying to get himself a starting gig at the trade deadline or whatever, and like, dude, nobody's.
And he's in a dome. I mean, could you imagine if he had to start for Cleveland or Pittsburgh or the places that he wanted to go? I'm just saying, like, every Cousins pass feels like it's bang bang, and it doesn't need to be. And
there were a couple of those ones where he had the space to step into it, and it's still dropping like a yard short of his intended receiver.
And Cousins never had a great arm, but he had good anticipation and accuracy through to spots, and now it's like he's just working with the Kellen Moore arm, which is difficult. Like you lose some RPMs on a bad arm, and it is just difficult to overcome.
Well, whatever about having the ability to sort of fit it into tight windows and stuff, you need to have the ability to get it to the guy you're aiming at. Like if it's dropping at his feet short of where you need, like that's just not viable.
Yeah. So Penix is banged up.
Yep.
It sounds like he's got it was like a bone bruise in the knee. It's what cost him a game earlier.
Yeah, that's usually not playing next week.
Yeah. So it looks like he's probably going to miss some time. Cousins would step in. By the way, Cousins was 6 of 14 for 48 yards, 3.4 yards per attempt when he did come in. Again, it was difficult. You could tell like the Falcons' offense was having success. Bijan had over 100 yards. Penix was playing well. But Drake London's banged up as well. Falcons are 3-7. They're inconsistent week to week. As soon as their defense looked like they came back with their nice pass rush last week and keeping them in things, and they're awful. They can't tackle. They're allowing yards after the catch, like you said. Just an awful season right now for the Falcons.
By the way, yeah, and to indicate how much of this was the problem of the Falcons' defense relative to Bryce Young being out of his mind good, his average depth of target was 6.2 in this game.
I just think both things were good. Like Bryce played well, but it probably wasn't 448 and 10 yards per attempt well.
The only guy with a higher total EPA this week than Bryce Young at quarterback was Josh Allen, and his average depth of target was 11.5. Like Allen's out here. I mean, you mentioned it that he looked like he was the practice that we watched him play against Chicago, where it felt like he was just trying stuff.
Oh, that's
like
right.
Let's see how far I can push this and what ridiculous throws I can fit in against this Bears defense, because what the hell? It's training camp. I'm here for the giggles, right? It felt like he was playing like that against Tampa Bay. I'm just going to see what I can do, what I can get away with. His average depth of target, 11.5 yards down the field. Bryce Young's average depth of target, 6.2. Like almost double you're dealing with Josh Allen for, let's say a comparable level of total output. So much of this was Atlanta's defense just deciding we're going to completely capitulate.
The Panthers are now one of 2 teams in the league with a winning record and a negative point differential. The other team being the Chicago Bears, who we'll break down very shortly here. The first place Chicago Bears. So the Panthers, here's what we have, and here's how big this is, beating the Falcons in a game with a comeback attempt. They go to San Francisco next week for Monday Night Football. Panthers on Monday night here. And then they have the Rams, then a bye week, Saints, and then they have Bucks, Seahawks, Bucks. Okay, so the Panthers still have to play the Bucks twice, the team they're trailing by a half game. They've got the late bye, week 14. But the next 2 against the NFC West are tough. The way San Francisco just played yesterday, the Rams, looking like one of the best teams in the NFL, maybe top 2. And so pulling this game off.
Yeah, and Seattle. I mean, you got the 3 good teams in the NFC West that you've got to play.
And the Bucs twice, right?
Right, as 50% of your remaining games.
Yes. So it's a tough finish, but beating the Falcons, now finishing the sweep against the Falcons. Panthers have scored exactly 30 points 3 times now, 2 of them against the Falcons.
It's crazy. I need to spit that into we're reaching the stage of the season where ESPN's playoff predictor machine must be alive at this stage. I wonder what happens if Carolina loses the 3 games against the good NFC West teams, but sweeps the Bucs. Is that enough? And obviously beats the Saints. I mean, obviously, who knows?
Not obviously. They just lost
Right.
17-7 last week. They remain confusing.
Let's say they beat the Saints. Like, does that split give them the division, or are they is the losses too much to overcome?
The Panthers had scored 45 points over the last 4 weeks and then dropped 30 yesterday in overtime.
They remain too confusing to decipher.
Anything else on this one?
No.
We'll be keeping an eye on Penix and Drake London injuries, but it looks like the Falcon season might be all but over. All right, quick break to talk about our friends over at FanDuel. They got a great new offer for NFL fans you don't want to miss. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join because FanDuel is giving new customers $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipts. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Didn't have it today.
Just from throwing those.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I threw it into the playoff prediction machine. I believe, based off the games that they each have, Carolina would need somebody to beat Tampa Bay. So even if they swept them and lost against the 3 good NFC West teams, I think they're going to need one more win from somewhere. As in,
I believe, yeah.
As in, they're going to need like the Dolphins or whatever to upset Tampa Bay in order to sneak the division.
Interesting. Green Bay Packers 27, New York Giants 20. Packers move to 6-3-1. Giants fall to 2-9. Jameis Winston getting the start for the Giants. Gave us some excitement, kept him in it. But it was Jordan Love in the passing game making some huge plays down the field when they needed. Jordan Love with it was like a last year's Bryce Young game. 174 passing yards. But I was incredibly impressed with Love because the Packers kept dropping passes, and he was on point, throwing the ball down the field.
Yeah, I think
despite his injury too.
The drop number is going to be interesting from this game because whatever it was being cited at during the game, I don't know whose numbers they use for that when they're live citing drop numbers, but that was like astronomically large. Like they got up to 7 or 8 or something live during the game that they were quoting.
They only had 20. Like they had. Packers QBs finished 15 of 26 for 180. So they only threw 26 passes and had 11 incompletions.
And they were like, 7 or 8 of them were dropped by Packers receivers. I think PFF's number is going to end up being lower than that. It usually is because they're quick to like if there's a hand in there, it's a pass breakup rather than a drop.
Right. There's more types of incompletions than a drop. Even if you think the receiver should catch it, there's different ways.
It's like primary reason for incompletion as opposed to did the receiver not come up with this when we think he should have, therefore it's a drop. So either way, the drops from Green Bay players. I'm not going to limit it to offense, but the drops from Green Bay players on both sides of the ball were a huge reason that this game ended up pretty close. Romeo Doubs in particular, I think, struggled the most with drops. He has these games every now and again where it's like the dude just can't catch the ball. And then he eliminates that and he looks like their best receiver. And then you get, there's a reason that they can't consistently rely on him week in, week out. but so many drops from Packers receivers. And then on the other side, it's like it was almost like the football gods had just determined, Jameis, we want Jameis. And in order to make that happen, all the Packers defenders have to drop the passes that he throws at them. So very early in my notes, I started a tally of passes thrown to Packers players that were not caught for Jameis. And it's like, I think we got up to 3 or 4 of them by the end. And that was before the end where, the ultimate turnovers that cost them the game.
Early on, you had the Giants' great opening drive, a couple third down conversions. They had a couple drives with multiple fourth down conversions. They were like Kafka being aggressive in his first game as head coach. Giants touchdown on the opening drive. Packers come back. Jordan Love got tackled pretty hard, had to leave with a left shoulder injury.
Helmet to the shoulder.
Yeah, and Malik Willis comes in, had a big scramble. He had a fascinating 1-yard touchdown to Christian Watson where he's rolled out and throws just an absolute laser beam. Like every angle that I saw, the camera wasn't capturing what happened. Willis has a cannon for an arm, and he just throws this laser. It just stuck in Watson's hands for a touchdown. Pretty impressive. It's the second straight year now we've seen Malik Willis come in when he needs to and, just make plays, make just enough plays. He just finished 2 for 2 for 6 yards and had the 16-yard scramble. Then Love comes back in, and I thought Jordan Love had a really nice game. Love finished 8 of 13 for 147 on 10-plus yard throws. So 5 incompletions, and then 2 of them were 2 of the stone-handed or paddle-handed drops, as you would say, that should have been easy first down completion. So I thought Love did a really nice job throwing the ball down the field.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's because of all the drops, the game almost sort of resorted to these low percentage crazy heaves, not crazy heaves, but low percentage heaves.
Careful. From
Jordan Love that end up getting caught at the other end by guys like Watson. Savion Williams has an amazing, that phrase combat catch is now starting to sort of overtake contested catch. This one was a legitimate combat catch. He's got a guy all over him, makes the play, 6'4", the guy that's been the gadget receiver for them, right? The short underneath gimmick stuff. It's he's also 6'4", and his college tape was fascinating because there's an element there of everything. Everything you want to see from an elite high-end number 1 wide receiver is on Savion Williams tape somewhere. It's just, it's not consistent, and there's a bunch of bad in there as well. But don't limit him to just the gadget guy in the offense because he's also 6'4" and huge and can make the combat catch deep down the field as well, just not necessarily all the time.
That was a 3rd and 10 game on the line, and I don't know how you and I both, based off our upbringing in football, both think of football in this distribution of credit. Where does the credit go for this one? And I'm not really sure, but it was Jordan Love with kind of a vintage fadeaway, right? Jordan Love, and I'm going to criticize Sam Darnold for fadeaways in about an hour here. Sam Darnold, when he doesn't have his feet set and he's fading away, he's off. When Jordan Love's throwing a confident fadeaway, kind of leaning back and let me give my receiver an opportunity to make a play, I feel like good stuff happens more often than not for Jordan Love versus other quarterbacks. I thought that was it was a massive play. It was in the big comeback drive before he hit the, Christian Watson for a similar 17-yard touchdown.
Another
great catch by Christian Watson, who I think has really helped elevate this offense when he's playing at his best. But that Savion play was huge. And it's we always talk about these Packers receivers and how they have all these different types and styles and there's no alpha. But in this one, the story for me was one big throw to Savion for 33.
Yeah.
Christian Watson, the big touchdown. It was the big receivers and Love giving them opportunities to make plays that ended up being the difference for the Packers.
Yeah, and it sort of felt like that's what the offense had resorted to because of all these drops. They're just we're going to need the big plays from our big receivers and hope that that's enough. And it was. I mean, they made a couple of huge plays. Christian Watson, since he's come back, really has been remarkably consistent at those deep passes. He's been a big play threat for this receiver or for this offense. He's always been a big play threat, but this year he's actually his strike rate on those is really good. Usually he was a big play threat, but actually his hit rate wasn't good. This year, almost everything that's been thrown his way has been really good.
And not necessarily in those combat or contested
Right.
situations.
He had one. Was it last week? He had that one play where like he was so concerned about breaking it up because he thought, "Oh, this is bad." Tried to break it up, and it's like,
he went to break it up and hit him in the
just
helmet.
stayed with it.
Yeah.
You could have caught that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like the one negative, and almost everything else he's been making the play.
I think he somebody
He did,
tweeted. Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah.
Somebody tweeted, "Do you think Christian Watson should have caught this?" And he quote tweeted, "Yes." Like it was actually a really good throw, and he just.
I mean, I think it's
misread.
indicative of I don't know that he tracks the ball as well as some other elite receivers that are in that role. Like I think he's always struggled with that a little bit. I think that's why what looked like his ball skills at the catch point might not be amazing because I don't know that it's necessarily his ball skills as much as when the ball arrives, he's kind of surprised by its location because he hasn't tracked it as well as some other guys. And when you're surprised by its location, you're not as in position to catch it as some other players. So I think that play a week ago was a good example of that, where it's like his initial read of where that ball was going was just off. So he thought he had to break it up and stop an interception, whereas if he just tracked it the whole way, he had a much better chance of catching it than the defensive back did.
A couple other key plays in this one. Josh Jacobs got banged up.
Yep.
They're trying to figure out what happens there. Only 7 carries for 40 yards there. Emmanuel Wilson always seems to make plays when they need him. Really nice 11-yard touchdown for him. We'll see what happens from an injury perspective coming out of that. Josh Wiley with a wide-open touchdown. I just still think – I know Matt LaFleur has taken a lot of heat in Green Bay for, inconsistent offense, inconsistent red zone. He was wide open for a touchdown, which I always think Matt LaFleur he does a really nice job, I think, in the tight red zone, scheming up some open throws and got back to that with the play, with that key play. And then the Giants, they had a whole bunch of fourth down conversions, but they got stuffed. Fourth and 3, Micah Parsons with a cleanup sack there. Micah Parsons I believe he had the strip sack at the very end. I mean, the game was pretty much over, but Jameis converted a bunch of key third and fourth downs. And again, I just want to reiterate from a Giants perspective, if it was an elite quarterback was out there throwing to Isaiah Hodgins, who, by the way, every time he plays football seems to play pretty well, relative to expectations. They just bring Isaiah Hodgins back in and Wan'Dale Robinson. And it's not like it's one of the worst on paper receiving corps in the league. Yeah. And that's almost like the feather in the cap for Jackson Dart over these last few weeks. The fact that they've had a good offense despite who they're throwing to. Giants and Jameis fought hard throwing to guys like Hodgins, who played a good game. It's just, if Josh Allen had these weapons or Patrick Mahomes had these weapons, it would be like, what are they going to do?
Well, it's basically the receiving core that was deemed not good enough for Daniel Jones, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. That's why they went and got Malik Neighbors. And, Jameis, given that, was pretty impressive in this game. Under pressure, Jameis was 6 of 7 for 57 yards, 8.1 yards per attempt. Okay, he was sacked a couple of times as well. But overall, despite throwing the ball to the defense a bunch, Jameis did a reasonable job of keeping them in this game. They had dragged Green Bay into that street fight that Green Bay has not performed well in the last few weeks. And as much as so Jameis's actual turnovers, you have the one right at the end, the game's basically over. It's, whatever. And then you have the interception that looked awful, but Jalen Hyatt absolutely hangs him out to dry in that play.
Right, he's just running a deep out and stops, huh?
He's running like a deep corner. Now, look, the safety has position, and he's looking for this play, so it's not like it's an easy touchdown. It's going to be contested. It's going the guy has a beat on the ball. But Jalen Hyatt, sees that there's a safety there and basically just gives up and stops. No, it's Jameis. If nothing else, be aware that it's Jameis, and any ball could be arriving, regardless of what the coverage looks like. You've got to run through the route.
Yeah. I think Jameis did as well as he could. I don't know if Dart is expected to be back next week. Remember, Dart missed the game with concussion from the previous week. 4th time he's at least been tested for a concussion. We'll see if he's back next week. But Jameis did his thing. I mean, Jacoby Brissett did steal his stat line.
Yeah, sadly.
Okay.
If Jameis, that's the stat that I want to see Jameis have every week. The Giants were reportedly, begging, effectively, Jackson Dart to, please, for the love of God, modify your running style because you're getting yourself killed. And that clip of John Gruden is Gruden's QB thing where he talks to these, like he basically had 2 minutes of ranting at Jackson Dart to like not run this way when he was in college. Like protect yourself because you're going to be out of the game. It is interesting. And obviously, like this is being used, Brian Daboll sacrificed Jackson Dart at the altar of keeping his job.
No.
I mean, Jackson Dart runs this way. Now, you can question how many design runs they drew up with that in mind, but this is a Jackson Dart problem as well as
both,
a Brian Daboll problem.
Because we brought up the Daboll problem too. It's like, yeah, they've run a lot of QB counter, QB power type stuff, QB draws. But yeah, we'll see what happens coming back with Dart.
One of the things he said in that Gruden thing was he always tries to be +2. And Gruden is like, what does that mean? And he says every time he takes a hit, he wants to have 2 more yards of fighting through contact effectively. And Gruden was like, well, that's great, but no. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's ridiculous.
That was the place where Gruden ranted about the clap.
Yeah.
The clap snap. He's like, why can't we have a real snap count here?
But he was like, not anymore. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, you can't do that in the NFL.
Quick aside, I had my 5 and 6-year-old were in their room. They're roommates. And the other day I hear, Green 19. They're just yelling out calls at the line of scrimmage. And then I go in there, they're throwing passes to each other. They're like, no, we're running all go special. I was like, I taught them all go special. And they're just, during bedtime, running it. So they know the play call. They're not using a clap. No. They're using calling real signals. Mm-hmm. That's Benny and Toby. Benny and Toby don't get love on the show.
No.
Just Harry.
Teddy?
No love for Teddy. Not enough love. But Benny and Toby deserve a shout-out for running all go special in their room at bedtime.
I wonder now how many of your kids would beat you in the picks.
Not Harry after this week.
Really? You've overtaken him? Oh, that's right.
I'm about to I might.
Did you have a good week?
I had a good week.
Oh, no.
Harry needs to maybe take a break from the picks. Because I'm like, Harry, you're 10. You're not enjoying. Because he's just calculating spreads. He's like, this could be good. He's like, he needed the Texans to cover. He's like, well, if we go to overtime, they could get a pick six, or they touchdowns the only way they could cover it. Whatever it was. I'm like, can you just enjoy the football?
Uh-huh.
And now I'm ruining my kid.
Yeah. Because
I dragged him into these picks.
Mm-hmm. This is like a cautionary tale for we're like. I mean, this is a lawsuit waiting to happen. Just in
So Harry might not be doing this next year with the picks. It was like a fun shtick when he was just like making stuff up. Now he's sitting there.
Now you turned him into a gambling addict.
He's watching game day on like a Saturday morning. He's like, I wonder where my picks are against McAfee and Saban and everybody.
Yeah.
So I think I'm bleeding. I'm gonna play through it.
Yeah. Fight or just playing hurt.
Anything else on this one? Packers needed it in the NFC North to keep pace with the first-place Bears, or at least be in striking distance of the first-place Bears.
Abdul Carter seemed to be benched in this game, not quite in the healthy scratch Keon Coleman way, but he didn't play for the first drive or two, but was out on special teams, which usually indicates a guy who's been disciplined for something.
Interesting. Yeah. Disappointing Giants defense.
Yeah.
Given what
I was watching this game, and there were a couple of runs up the middle that Green Bay had that were successful. I'm like, where is Dexter Lawrence? And I'm like, so the next play, I was like, I'm zoomed in on Dexter Lawrence, and he took the center, drove him like 4 yards into the backfield, and wrecked. Like, it didn't matter. Somebody like cut past him and still made a positive play. I'm like, okay, Dexter Lawrence is still really good, just in case we were wondering.
I think he's having more of the Vita Vea type season, though, where there's some flash plays, but not enough.
It's definitely not as consistent. But I was literally like, what the hell has happened to Dexter Lawrence? Where is he? I haven't seen him make a play in a long time. And literally the first play I specifically focused on paying attention to him, he took the dude and just drove him like deep into the backfield immediately in a way that very few humans are able to do.
All right, let's go. Pittsburgh Steelers 34, Cincinnati Bengals 12. Steelers moved to 6-4, remain in first place in the AFC North. Bengals fall to 3-7. Steelers got up early. It was 13-9 in the second half, and then Joe Flacco with a pick six to Kyle Duggar, a 73-yard pick six, which Flacco was teasing earlier in the game.
What a return as well.
What's that?
What a return.
A great return by a fairly new Steeler, Kyle Duggar. That put the Steelers up 20-9. It was 20-12, and then it was Mason Rudolph who came in for an injured Aaron Rodgers. Pretty much sealed it with a little 5-yard touchdown to Kenneth Gainwell. There's other stuff to discuss.
A lot of it.
In this game, but high level, Aaron Rodgers injured at halftime, a wrist injury. You could tell he was kind of shaking it out at the end of the half. He played through it for a couple plays, and then coming out of the half, they just handed it to Mason Rudolph. So he's got a slight broken bone?
A slight break, I think, was how Schefter
break?
was describing this as the initial look.
Can we get your dad to chime in on what should happen here?
I'll ask him, I suppose.
Call your dad.
Yeah.
See what Aaron Rodgers should do. And then, of course, there was the spitting incident, potential spitting incident at the end of the game. Jamar Chase.
Well, yeah. What appears
explain
to be,
what happened.
Jalen Ramsey got tossed for the game for getting into a fight and throwing punches, basically, at Jamar Chase. This was like early in the fourth quarter. Jalen Ramsey came out and said, he spat on me. And so they asked Jamar Chase this. He's like, no, I don't know what he's talking about. Never spat at him. There's video that looks very conclusively like he spat on him. Now, we're in a world of AI where who the hell knows what's real and what isn't anymore. If the video is real, it's open and shut case. Jamar Chase spits on Jalen Ramsey, at which point the book should be thrown at Jamar Chase. Again, I think spitting is about the worst thing you can do on a football field. Whatever you want to do. Suspend him, ban him, anything. I don't care. I also think you should absolve any and all responsibility from Jalen Ramsey if that's the case. You can't obviously undo his ejection, but don't fine him. No further disciplinary procedure for Jalen Ramsey. I think he's absolutely right to swing at a guy that spits at him. So that was definitely an interesting element of this game.
Jalen Carter got thrown out of the opening night game before the game started for spitting. And they essentially called it, a one-game suspension because it happened.
Because it happened like on snap one.
Just as a precedent maybe for Jamar Chase. It was a huge part in the game too because the Bengals were within a score or two. I can't remember. I think it was when it was 20-9, right? And they were driving in Steelers territories, 4th and 1, tried to draw the Steelers off sides. Steelers didn't bite. And then all of a sudden, Jalen Ramsey starts throwing blows, and we're like, "Wow, man, he's losing his cool." He just handed the Bengals 15 yards, put him in field goal range, gave him a first down that got them back within a score. So it was a huge play at that time,
and misses
then you didn't
the rest of the game.
And he's thrown out, yes.
For a Steelers secondary that's already banged up, that's already had to move him to safety in order just to accommodate the bodies that they've got, et cetera, et cetera.
By the way, I did have in my notes generally, I think Jalen Ramsey at safety, when he just works downhill from depth, very good. Like he broke up a pass. Like he was always good at that as a corner. He was never really a press man, let's play one-on-one all game type of corner. He was an off coverage, great zone player, eyes, tackler. He's fine one-on-one, but I think his specialty was just all-around football player. I think he's going to be an excellent safety if that's what he ends up doing for the next few years. Much like Charles Woodson did. Like Woodson, late in his career, he went from lockdown corner to kind of like a star hybrid slot linebacker, Antoine Winfield type, and then Woodson transitioned to just straight up free safety and lasted a couple more years and did a nice job in that role. I think Ramsey's going to do well if he just ends up being a free safety. I think he's just got a good feel for playing football generally, but like working downhill from depth, I think he's outstanding. Mm-hmm. In the first half, so Rodgers only plays the first half. This game, a couple things that stood out. The Bengals had multiple roughing the passer penalties. It was like they've gotten so little pressure this year. It's like they didn't know what to do when they got close to the quarterback, so they kept hitting Rodgers in the head, or whatever it was. Rodgers, they had like 4 negated incompletions in this game for Rodgers. And then 90% of his yards came after the catch because Darnell Washington turned into Derrick Henry.
Darnell Washington that was one of the most ridiculous plays I've ever seen in my life. His catch and rumble it
was unbelievable.
It's just artwork. It's fascinating. It's like genuinely, it's the answer to the question. Like every time he catches the ball, it's like was it Dan Connolly? Was that the Patriots guy's lineman's name who got the kick return? like monster kick return, almost took it for a touchdown. Every time Darnell Washington catches a ball, it looks like Dan Connolly finally got his opportunity on offense. It's like catches it, stiff arms a Bengals linebacker to the turf, runs through another defender on the sideline, almost runs through a third. Like the third guy goes for the peanut punch right at the end just to see if he can knock the ball out. And Darnell Washington just like lowers his face and runs through him like Juggernaut from X-Men. Like it's utterly ridiculous watching him play football.
Such a good play. It was 3rd and 17.
Yeah. I mean,
and they checked down to Darnell Washington.
The Bengals defense.
Like, I'll take over. I got this.
The number of like 3rd and longs that this Bengals defense was coughing up in this game was absolutely insane.
This is what I'm saying. Like before the injury, I don't even know that Rodgers played all that well. It's just he got the ball in space to Kenneth Gainwell and to Darnell Washington, and they created after the catch because the Bengals defense still can't tackle anybody. It's bad.
It's unbelievable how terrible they are.
Steelers defense did a nice job again. Chase Brown, he was doing a great job running the ball, even when there wasn't room. Caught a couple passes out of the backfield, but it was not the same Jamar Chase dominant game. It wasn't the same, hey, outside receivers for the Bengals are just going to take over. Higgins got his, but Chase goes 3 for 10, three catches on 10 targets. Flacco, like I said, he got away with an early, really bad throw into double coverage, like a short one. I forget which linebacker got his hands on it, but easily could have been a pick six. It got dropped. And I was just thinking, like, that's what every time you've broken down the good Flacco game, you're like, he's avoided those for the most part. Yeah. And even in his good games, he'll have a couple of those. You get away with 1 or 2, and it's fine. He did not get away with the Duggar one, though, and that ended up being not the difference in the game, but a huge difference in the game. Bengals trying to make their comeback attempt. It's a low-scoring game. Their defense is doing a good job relative to what they had done previously, despite all the yards after the catch. But Flacco throws the pick six, and that was pretty much all she wrote.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. They don't have the defense is so bad that they can't have the offense turning the ball over. They really can't. And Flacco had done a remarkable job of avoiding that up until this point. But that was a bad play that they couldn't have.
So Mason Rudolph comes in, fills in fine for Aaron Rodgers. Same thing, just throws the ball underneath for the most part, and they create the yak. Rodgers, he's got the wrist injury. I don't know. It's his non-throwing wrist, by the way. It's his left wrist. Mm-hmm. There had been a point a couple weeks ago. I mentioned this last night, right? Like before the Colts game, I think it was. There were reports that he was shaking out his left hand, and I think somebody called it a thumb, and it was during warm-ups, and then he goes into the game, and he was pretty much fine. That was 2 weeks ago. Then they played the Chargers last week, and then this game against the Bengals, he landed on it. You could see he was holding it, stayed in the game for a couple plays, and then comes out at the half. I don't know what this does going forward for the Steelers. I think Rodgers has not played well these last couple weeks. The offense has been inconsistent. Like the offense is being brought, stuck together by Darnell Washington, like in the backside of the backfield, creating after the catch. I don't know how this affects things going forward here with Rodgers, if he's got to wear a cast or whatever that might be.
Yeah, the concern I think is going to be like a slight break or whatever. I'm sure you can just put that in a cast and strap it up and be good to go. The problem is, can he hand the ball off? It's going to be the run game that's the problem rather than the pass game. Like, can he actually get the ball to the running back using his left hand, his non-throwing hand? If it's in a cast, if it's strapped up and locked solid, that's going to be the problem, I think, for whether or not he can play. The intriguing thing, though, is like with this game, I don't know if it matters. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has more to his game than Mason Rudolph, but Mason Rudolph's not 43 years old and might be a better option for them, or at least a comparable option at this point. So that's going to be an interesting element. The other thing that was crazy in this game is that the two pass rushes were basically the same, which when you consider Pittsburgh's defensive line that looks like everybody is a superstar on it and should be getting pressure every single snap, and Cincinnati, their one good defensive lineman didn't play in the game. You're like, how are these two pass rushes comparable in this game? It's nuts. They basically ended up with the same volume of pressure, felt every bit the same in this game. Like Cincinnati's pass rush, if anything, felt like it was having a bigger impact because of all those hits on Aaron Rodgers.
But also when they got close, they roughed him a couple times. I thought Miles Murphy had maybe his best game as a pro rushing the passer. Joseph Asai. They did a nice job without Trey Hendrickson, with no Shamar Stewart. They did.
But my point is that that has to be at least partly because of the Steelers' offensive line. Like the fact that they allowed this no-name Cincinnati pass rush to have the same effect as their pass rush, which is supposed to be dominant every single week, is crazy.
Other than Nick Herbig, who was awesome again for the Steelers. Doing great. Anyway, Steelers sitting in first place. They've got the Bears next to it. First place Bears. Battle of the two AFC and NFC North first place teams next week.
Mm-hmm.
Steelers and Bears. Good Morning Football, Ian Rappaport already reporting that Rodgers is hoping, he has not been ruled out for next week, hoping to play. As you said, if we're talking a left wrist injury, if he has to, hand off like outside zone right or whatever, sometimes you get the backwards right-handed handoff or whatever it might be. So they just have to figure out what that looks like.
Yeah.
But he has not thrown the ball well these last few weeks here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go. Houston Texans 16, Tennessee Titans 13. Texans back to 500, 5-5. Titans fall to 1-9. Cam Ward helps lead the comeback. They were down 13-6, comes back to tie it at 13 late, but the Texans get the game-winning field goal with 2 seconds left, 35-yarder, to win the game to go to 5-5.
Yeah, I felt sorry for the Titans at the end of this game. Like they fought hard, they kept it close the whole game. They did execute the kind of the go-ahead scoring drive. Still couldn't quite make it done. They looked pretty bummed by the end of this game. Nobody likes losing. But when you're 1-9 and this was your one against a division rival, or this was your chance to get another one win, and you don't quite make it happen, that sucks.
I thought, so Cam Ward, game-tying touchdown drive, I thought was fantastic. I want to break that down in a minute. But the key play, the heartbreaker for Tennessee, Davis Mills to Nico Collins on 3rd and 16 along the sideline. Nico just doing his thing, great footwork along the sideline, just outstanding. But a 3rd and 16 with under a minute left, that put them, in the outer reaches, right, of field goal range, and ended up setting up the game winner. That was the play.
Yeah.
They had fought hard. I thought the defense played hard. I know it's Davis Mills, it's the backup for Houston, but credit Tennessee, man. Their defense looks a little feistier, I think, these last couple weeks than it has. And I thought the game tying drive for Cam Ward, they were maybe bailed out by a pass interference on Derek Stingley, kind of like an arm bar. They called it, but 3rd and 16 for Cam Ward, and throws an absolute dime to Chiga Kwankwo on a corner route. Just a beautiful throw, probably the best throw of Cam Ward's young career, especially given the circumstances. Had a 20-yard scramble in there. We had been calling for a little bit more from Cam Ward's legs. And so I thought, in crunch time, we did see a little bit more from Cam Ward as far as making some big plays. And he had a couple just misses and weird plays from Mason Kinsey, who was filling in. He's been like an on-off the roster player for the last 4 or 5 years for Tennessee. So some more positive plays, I think, for Cam Ward and Tennessee's offense than we had seen in previous weeks, despite them only scoring 13 points.
Definitely. And with Calvin Ridley, carted off in the game. So you're without your number one wide receiver, and you're down. It's already not a good group. And that was impressive. Like the one element, their defense did well. They caused all kinds of problems for Davis Mills and the Texans. But yeah, in this terrible situation where they're losing every game, and we're just looking to see a bit more from Cam Ward, even just in terms of aggression, you did see the bomb, you did see the scramble, you did see at least a couple of the high-end plays that he's capable of, which frankly at this point is all I'm looking for. Like, just show me some of the college Cam Ward who wants to be aggressive and make some big plays, because that guy's disappeared for most of the season.
Yeah, so I thought that was really encouraging, and I thought they moved. I thought Tennessee did a nice job. They moved the pocket a couple times. I mentioned those Kinsey plays. They had a wide open. So they had Kinsey wide open on the game-winning throw, and it just missed him. Earlier in the game, early in the third quarter, Houston complete busted coverage. Kinsey was wide open on a corner route. It was a sail concept, so you run a go. You run a corner, and then you have somebody in the flat. The corner route was Kinsey. It was wide open. It was complete busted coverage by a good Texans defense. And Kinsey didn't know what to do with himself. And Ward throws the ball, and Kinsey's running around in a circle, and it should have been a 50-yard touchdown, whatever it was, 40-yard touchdown. And those are just plays that are missing, right? Like when you're losing football team, you mess it up. But I'll say the same thing that I said about the Giants, right? Like if Calvin Ridley, if he was the number one receiver for one of the better quarterbacks in the league, we'd be sitting there at the trade deadline being like, you got to go get somebody. Right. If Ridley was the one, you would say you need to upgrade this group. And Ridley's been out of the lineup. He comes back for like a play this week. He's been out of the lineup. You're throwing to Van Jefferson. No offense to Van Jefferson. He's a 3 or a 4 on a good receiving core, right? Aya Maynor, 5th round pick or whatever he was, 4th round, 5th round pick. So you don't have the consistent playmakers. You're bringing up Kinsey off the practice squad or whatever. It's just not a great group. So you're trying to combine that with Cam Ward's development, and it's tough. But I think there were some positive signs for the Titans and Cam Ward in this one against, a challenging defense to go against.
Yeah, really good defense. And ultimately, I mean, they ended up, you could argue, making the difference as well. Like you have the Will Anderson play where he gets the trifecta, strip sack, fumble recovery. I mean, that's a game-changing / defining play.
Such a good play.
And they didn't have that many of them in this game relative to what they normally have, but Hunter had a good play. Will Anderson has a good play. Like they had just enough on that defense. It's a really hard defense to do anything against. So for that to be the team that Cam Ward shows a couple of plays that we've been looking for against, I think is an encouraging sign. It's tough to take any kind of moral victory out of your 9th defeat of the season. But I think if you were relative to expectations, I think the Titans have to be pleased with this game.
And then given, the circumstances the last couple of weeks, Davis Mills finishes 26 of 41 for 274 and a touchdown. Not almost, but he ended up, anyway. He threw a really nice fade to Jaden Higgins, set up the passing touchdown to Nico Collins. I thought Higgins just missed, our guy right there, just missed the touchdown. But they got Higgins going with 4 catches for 55. Nico had the 9 for 92. And again, the 3rd and 16, beautiful throw, Davis Mills to Nico Collins. That's what set them up. So Mills has made a lot of big plays in crunch time, even though it's not pretty the entire game. They got stopped early on a 4th down and the goal line. Houston finding a way to win. And, again, if they're going to make any kind of playoff run, this is the type of game you have to win no matter how it happens. And they've got some big games coming up down the stretch, and they're in position to at least sneak in the back end of the playoffs now.
And they're back to 500 for the first time since the start of the season.
There we go. Anything else?
Nope.
On this one. All right, let's go. Chicago Bears, 19. Minnesota Vikings, 17. Your first place, Chicago Bears, 7-3. Vikings fall to 4-6. It was a similar game script to opening night where the Bears had this game in control for most of it. Minnesota comes back. It was, 16 to 3 into the 4th quarter. Minnesota scores 2 touchdowns. J.J. McCarthy to Jordan Addison. Looks like it's going to be the game winner. 17-16 Minnesota, but the Bears come back with a big kick return, and they have a 9-yard drive to set up the game-winning 48-yard field goal from Cairo Santos to move to 7-3.
Yeah, it really was crazy how alike the first encounter this was, where early in the game the Vikings had nothing going on offense, and it wasn't all J.J. McCarthy's fault. I mean, they had 6 drops, I think, from their receivers. Addison dropped a couple early. Justin Jefferson dropped one that he should have had. Jefferson was showing serious signs of frustration. Some of them were the types of drops, certainly the Jefferson one I'm thinking of, where it's like, I think one of the things I thought about J.J. McCarthy as a prospect is there's no nuance to his throws. Everything is a bullet. That's great if you hit the guy in his hands and he catches it, but it does sometimes maybe take a bit off it. Like
at Michigan, he did not throw. I think some people said he didn't throw a ton of over the shoulder, anything with real.
It's all
touch.
Bullet passes.
Yeah.
And it's at some point that's not helping a guy catch the football. So he was putting some of these passes on target and they were being dropped, but just the offense generally was just not functioning in the first half. And then all of a sudden in the 4th quarter he makes a couple plays. People catch those plays this time. Jordan Mason makes a couple plays. They put themselves in position to win the game and then immediately surrender it with a kick return.
J.J. McCarthy threw 2 interceptions. The first one I thought was a really nice read by Kevin Byard. Kind of got baited a little bit. Both picks, though, J.J. was just a little late, especially the first one to Byard. The second one was more like, hey, you're going backside read.
Honestly, the second one I think is just a great play.
It was such a good play. I think I've been more critical to you off air than on air about Deshaun Wright and his ability to play cornerback, but he's had a few really nice plays this year. This was an unbelievable interception by Deshaun Wright in the end zone.
It really was. Amazing play. He's in tight coverage. He extends, he high points the ball, he fingertip grabs, spectacular interception. And then this is Deshaun Wright is somebody who makes this incredible play, which ends up, this is a game-changing play. Days after his college coach, the legendary John Beam, was shot and killed, he's the last chance U coach, Laney College. Deshaun Wright played for him. So as soon as he makes this play, he's down in the end zone, and incredibly emotional. So phenomenal play and moment for Deshaun Wright to make it at that kind of moment, change the game, or at least ensure that the game didn't change with that play. Just amazing story, one little vignette within a football game.
Yeah, I thought that was outstanding. Great play by Wright. Obviously, a huge play in the game when you're talking about a 19-17 game. An end zone interception by Wright was massive. The Bears are now number 1 in the NFL. So I mentioned a little while ago, 2 teams with winning records, negative point differential, the Bears and the Panthers. The Bears are 7-3, negative point differential, but they're number 1 in turnover margin. And that's the difference. That seems to be the difference in the Bears. Plus, just every game comes down to a game-winning field goal. And they kick all of them. Or they block them.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Bears winning all these one-score games. Normally, we would say, hey, this is really tough to sustain. But, enjoy it.
And it is.
Yeah. Producer Will. And the first-place Bears right now. Did just enough offensively. Kyle Monangai, another touchdown, running hard. He didn't get as much going as he had previously, but he still had, 90 yards from DeAndre Swift. Couple big plays from Colston Loveland and Rome Odunze over the middle. Didn't do, but, up and down passing attack from the Bears. But defense did a nice job. J.J. McCarthy still trying to find his way from Minnesota.
Yeah, so the drops were really problematic because, McCarthy's basically completing 50% of his passes. The Vikings offense is not efficient enough right now to withstand a bad receiving day as well. Maybe they could withstand a bad J.J. McCarthy day, but the players need to catch the passes where he does actually deliver it to them. This is supposed to be one of the reasons the optimism for J.J. McCarthy was there is because, hey, look at this receiving core. There's talent everywhere. Well, if those guys are going to drop the football, that stops becoming a positive. So this offense is not good enough to deal with that on top of the J.J. McCarthy struggles. So I think that was a big part of why they weren't much closer in this game for the majority of it.
Yeah, that was a nice throw
by the
Addison way, up the seam.
Yeah, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
If he catches that, that's one of those plays where, okay, McCarthy is a guy he's 50% right now. He's a coin flip about whether or not you're going to get the ball. If one of the plays where he actually hits it on your side is a bullet right in the hand of the receiver up the seam, and if he catches it, he's probably breaking loose of the guy who has hold of his T-shirt and scoring. That's a touchdown at the start of the game. You have to catch that pass.
Is everybody rocking the Hulk Hogan tearaway undershirts these days? That's what I would do.
I think skill position players are very much.
Yeah, go ahead, grab my shirt. Oh,
right.
You get the shirt. I'm gone.
Now,
the Hogan tearaways.
Jordan Addison weighs 17 pounds, so maybe it's enough to keep him down. But still, I think you, as an NFL wide receiver, you fancy your chances of escaping just a T-shirt hold.
Would you say there's Broncos fans, earmuffs, they're not watching this right now anyway. A little bit of Bo Nix to early J.J. McCarthy, where there's just so much inconsistency. I think he's got a little bit of that amnesia where even if it's not going well, he can make some big plays. If the Vikings pull this off, the narrative is completely different. J.J., you struggled for 55 minutes statistically, but man, did you come through in the end. The way Bo Nix has in several games this year. Bo played great, by the way, against the Chiefs. We'll break it all down, just so you know. But, you're inconsistent, you're missing throws, but you make the big one when you need to, just like you did in week 1. There's a little bit of that to J.J. McCarthy right now.
Yeah, he's wildly inconsistent right now. And that, he's the youngest starting quarterback in the NFL. It's to a degree fairly inevitable. I don't think I would like him if I was a sort of, if I was Kevin O'Connell or whoever, anyone internal advising him, he should probably stop talking. He keeps saying things that I don't think are helpful. Like the conversation about his alter ego, 9, after that ridiculous, mean mug he had at the end of the win the week. I don't think that makes you look particularly good when you then end up having a terrible game and throwing some interceptions. He had a comment at the end of this game, this one's not even his fault, but it's like, this is how the world works. You say something that's just misinterpretable and someone's going to misinterpret it. Like he said something like, he was talking about how you can't make mistakes in the NFL because the NFL's too good, right? They're going to punish you for these things. And he said something like, it's too hard, this league. And it was like, our starting quarterback's out here saying the game's too hard for him. We can't blow it up now. And that's not what he meant. He meant that, defenses are too good for you to give them freebies in addition to, not making plays. But these are the things that's happening right now for McCarthy. Just don't talk to anybody. Just, head down, concentrate on not completing 50% of your passes.
I blame the people that misconstrue those statements, but yeah.
But this is just the world now. You have to sort of be aware that this is going to happen and not say things.
All right, one more thing I need to bring up here. And I think you mentioned this last night. They showed Justin Jefferson slamming his helmet in frustration.
Yeah, man's pissed off.
No. Just like anyone else. Put a camera on the left guard. He's probably pissed off too. I'm mad at the media for trying to turn every wide receiver into Terrell Owens. Every time an offense is frustrated, not doing well, they put the camera on the receiver, they show the frustration, and they project that it's going to turn into this he's upset, he's not getting the ball, he's not getting his catches, he's frustrated. It's yeah, everybody's frustrated. If you watch all 11 players, they're probably all frustrated. And so it was this is when it was 16-3, slams his helmet. And the way the Vikings got back into it, big kick return, and then a long 16-yard run from Jordan Mason, touchdown run. And Justin Jefferson's in there blocking like crazy on that play, pumping his fist and celebrating. I think the media they create these things out of nowhere. Oh, Justin Jefferson. And they do it by just showing the replay, and everybody's like, oh, here we go. It's Ocho Cinco. It's T.O. It's upset receiver. And I'm going to vent about the same thing on A.J. Brown later on the show.
I don't think that's really what's happening. I think Justin Jefferson is getting more frustrated than he has been in the past. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that because of the point you brought up, which is on that Jordan Mason run, he's still out there blocking his ass off, trying hard and trying to make this thing work. And so that's fine. A star wide receiver, as good as Justin Jefferson is, if the offense isn't firing and he's a part of it, with a drop in there. If that's the case, he should be pissed off, and that's fine.
That's my point, though. I'm not saying that
there's nothing wrong with that, as long as it doesn't result in him packing it in and giving up, and the effort going away.
That's my point. Though.
I have no problem with that.
That's my point.
But it doesn't mean you should hide. It doesn't mean you should pretend it's not happening. Why is the camera even on him?
I'm saying because they're trying. It's like they're creating a reality TV show. It's here's the slow-mo of Justin Jefferson slamming his helmet. I don't care that he's frustrated. He should be frustrated. But I'm telling you, there's probably 10 other guys that are frustrated too. And it's because we all immediately think this is going to affect his performance. Now he's going to stop running routes. He's going to get pissed off. He hates his quarterback. That's the story that's being conveyed by that. And I think that's all wrong. Same thing with A.J. Brown. I think that's all wrong. Of course he's okay to be upset, frustrated when the offense has 3 points.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with showing that as a new development in his disposition. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, hey, a notable thing is happening right now. As the Vikings offense is struggling, Justin Jefferson is growing increasingly more frustrated on a visible level. It's then relevant to be yeah, but look, he's out here still blocking his ass off. It's still a story that Justin Jefferson is getting pissed off by this offense without taking it as far as going, therefore, this is a problem. He's he's a problem child. He's Terrell Owens. Time to ship him off. Like we don't have to go there, but that doesn't mean you don't show
it. I feel like that's the story that's being conveyed, though. Those are the conclusions that people jump to. Headache, wide receiver, distraction. Like Justin Jefferson's not a distraction for Minnesota because he slammed his helmet. That's where people jump. That's where people jump to. I'm mad at the interpretation of it more so than maybe the camera. But I think the networks they don't have the camera on the left tackle being frustrated, right? I'm just telling you, they're creating stories that aren't there. Anyway, congrats to the Bears. Good job by the Bears. They got the Steelers next week. Will broken wrist Aaron Rodgers come back to face the team that he owns? The Chicago Bears. Big story for next week. Got anything else on this one?
Nope.
All right, quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. You don't have to use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, and after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or lock your keys in the car, Root will cover the help you need to get you back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. We on to the 4 o'clocks? I think we are. So Los Angeles Rams get the win over the Seahawks, 21-19. Rams move to 8-2. Seahawks fall to 7-3. Of course, the story of the game is going to be the Rams defense / Seattle offense. 4 interceptions from Sam Darnold in this one. Other than that, it was a really equally, hard-fought game on both sides, but the turnover is just a massive difference in this one. It felt like a couple games that did feel like playoff games, heavyweight battle, every play mattered. This was the one that got a little bit out of hand, but Seattle got back into it, got within 2, and had a chance to win in the end. But the 4 turnovers for Seattle were the difference, or the 4 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, everything for Seattle went reasonably well, with the exception of Darnold pretty much melting down, having 4 interceptions. Other than that, it's a pretty good game.
I broke down the 4. You want to hear them?
Sure.
All right. First one, I mentioned the Jordan Love back foot fadeaway is almost like a staple throw for him. It's like usually, not always good things happen, but he's able to get it down the field and receivers to make plays. When Darnold does it, usually not good.
Bad things happen.
Darnold's interesting because I think he's got the quote arm talent. Like he's got good zip and touch. He can do all the stuff with his arm. When he doesn't have his feet under him though, that's when bad stuff happens, especially over the middle. So his first one's a back foot fadeaway with pressure in his face. Mm-hmm. And if you're a Seahawks fan, or if you listen to our show, and I saw some comments, people like, oh, you guys are focused too much on Darnold against the Rams and the fade. I'm like, are we really? And one throw kind of set the tone here. A back foot fadeaway from Sam Darnold with pressure in his face for the first interception. The second one, they had a stunt. Byron Young's hitting him while he's throwing. He's probably a touch late on it outside, or at least Kobe Durant's sitting on it. But he's getting hit. That's going to affect the velocity. But either way, they're sitting on it, right? Second interception. The next one, slight miscommunication, thrown to Arroyo up the seam, but it's never there.
Right.
And if you look at what do you have that? They get the double seams going. On the other side, they bend it in, which was right because it was too high look. They bent it, and he probably should have thrown to his left. He throws it up the right seam. It was never there. Maybe Arroyo's going to bend it a little bit. Doesn't matter, though. Cam Kitchens is all over it for the interception. And then the last one, it's heavy pressure. He avoids the heavy pressure and then makes the off-balance throw. Again, when his feet aren't set, he's not making those types of – he shouldn't be making those throws. He's laid over the middle under heavy pressure. So I think the only one you might slightly absolve him is maybe when he's getting hit on the Kobe Durant one. But either way, it's like you're about to get popped and you're throwing outside the numbers. They were all pretty bad, and every single one was under pressure, right? Was the
Yes.
seam under pressure?
Yeah.
They were all like
That's the
with
thing.
someone in his face.
That would be the takeaway from this is, on the one hand, throwing 4 interceptions is bad. On the other hand, this was an example of what pressure can do. Like, any time you pressure a quarterback, his numbers are going to absolutely crater, and you force bad decisions. So it's not like this was an unforced disaster from Sam Darnold, but it was a disaster because they got to him a lot and forced these kinds of bad decisions. And that, it was more like, I think it felt more like the Lions game at the end of last season's implosion than the Rams one. The Rams one, I think he was almost broken almost before that game began, like by the Lions game.
And that resulted in all the sacks.
Yeah. And then the second thing started to go badly against the Rams in the playoffs, it's like Darnold just completely imploded into himself. The Lions game, he actually hung tight for a while. Like, it started to go bad, and he then sort of fought it, and then the more he fought it, the worse things went, and it sort of spiraled. This kind of felt like that, where it's like early, something bad happens, and it's like, okay, it's fine, and then fights it, and then, it was another bad, and like every time then he tried to keep digging himself out of it, and the more he dug, the worse things got.
Yeah, I think the Rams have a pretty good feel for him. Like,
Yes. That's the big takeaway here is the Rams are now responsible for like 3 of his 4 worst games in the last 18 months.
Yeah, and there was a 28-yard beautiful one-handed catch by JSN who made it look easy, just unbelievable.
A ridiculous play.
But it was like they weren't completely sitting on the intermediate stuff, but on all of these interceptions, it's all short and intermediate stuff where I am a broken record talking this year about the defenses that combine pass rush and the coverage unit together. And Seattle does it really well as well. When you can get pressure or at least create some level of indecision on the quarterback, it allows the coverage unit to sit on routes, and that's what the Rams were doing. They were jumping the routes when Darnold was under pressure. It was just great team defense by the Rams. So credit them for making the plays. And then, we broke down this game for like 20 minutes, and a big chunk of it was how does Darnold handle pressure? And it wasn't like he hadn't had this game, like he hadn't had this game before. He had the Texans game on Monday Night Football where he had 2 or 3 of these bad turnovers, one in the end zone. The difference there was Seattle just kept making the stop. And by the way, Darnold made a bunch of big time throws in that game, like they balanced it out. So they had been teasing the high turnover game. They had it against Pittsburgh, right? They've had this game before, Seattle's offense, where they turned the ball over a bunch and put extra pressure on their defense. In the Houston game, they held and won the game because they just dominated the Texans' offensive line, and Stroud was having his own issues. So it didn't matter that they gave him 14 possessions. They still held on to win. You couldn't do that against the Rams, who weren't great offensively either, and Seattle's defense did a nice job keeping them in this. But when they got into the red zone, whether it was Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams, he only had the one catch for 1 yard, but he's just a red zone cheat code, in the tight red zone where it's like, good luck covering the slant, covering the fade, and he had his touchdown. So the Rams just capitalized. It wasn't like they had a great game offensively, but they took advantage of the turnovers.
Yeah, they did. That's the big thing to come out of this game, I think, is the Rams' defensive front is nasty. They have Darnold's number. And that's a problem for Seattle because obviously they're within the same division, but also look at their records. I mean, these are 2 teams that both look destined for the playoffs. The chances are Seattle is going to have to play the Rams at some point, and that's not going well for them at the moment.
And when you talk about the turnover thing, like the Rams, how many plays? They only ran 50 plays offensively. So part of that's like you get short fields, so it's harder to sustain drives. But yeah, again, Seattle's defense did their best, held the Rams
they really
to 2
did.
of 11 on third down.
That's the thing. Like, Darnold kind of imploded. It's at the same time, I think it's pretty encouraging that this game was as close as it was given Darnold's 4 interception implosion. As you said, 2 of 11 on third down. The Rams were also going for fourth downs. Like early in the game, they go for 4th and 1. Kyron breaks it, almost scores. They score a couple plays later. That's the Devontae Adams touchdown. Like, they were going for 4th downs early in this game to keep the drives alive. Meanwhile, Seattle punts it away on 4th and 1 close to midfield, whereas the Rams had been going for it. Like, they had it this close with 4 Darnold interceptions and with the Rams stealing fourth downs, extending drives, and Seattle giving up a potential drive by punting the ball away. Like, this was really close, and a whole bunch of stuff went against the Seahawks.
Yeah, Seattle made a big fourth down stop right before Darnold's interception, right? I mean, and then Darnold throws another interception, and then they force a fumble on Puka Nacua. Like, Seattle's defense on either side of the turnovers either made a big stop and then Seattle turned it over again, or Seattle turns it over and then Seattle's defense comes back and gets the turnover. Like, they made some huge plays to just keep this thing close.
Yeah, you've also got, Emmanuel Forbes has a pass breakup in the end zone that saves a touchdown. Like, on a well-thrown Darnold pass, it's there, and it looks like Forbes is beaten, but he's got enough length to break it up. That was touchdown instead. Instead, it's 2nd and 20. The Rams made a bunch of plays, and this was a close game despite Darnold having that kind of meltdown.
And then after all that, Seattle still scores with 2:27 left to make it 21-19, and they have a chance if they can go force a 3 and out, and then get the ball back. They'll have an opportunity,
and they held,
and they did, but. A beautiful punt, 50-yard punt to the 1.
Landed in the inside the 1, like proper coffin corner punt where the punt did all the work. Now, it didn't require a guy getting down there to down it.
It's unbelievable.
Like, it went out of bounds inside the 1.
So that was, 99 yards for Darnold against the Rams. It was like Thursday Night Football.
Well, except they only needed the field goal, right? So
yeah, but I'm just saying they had to drive the whole field. Right. But either way, it was at the 1. I mean, if that was a touchback on the punt and they started from the 20,
huge. That's a massive,
great opportunity.
That's a huge difference. Like, you only need to get into field goal range, so it's not like you need to drive 99. But the difference between that being the drive starting inside the 1 and the drive starting at the 25, 20. Where does the punt? I'm lost now. Where's
20?
Yeah,
it goes back to the 20.
Kick returns are screwing me up. So, but the difference, it's a 20-yard difference, effectively.
You know what? It's funny how we've all changed the way we look at football games. When a drive starts at the 20, like, that's jarring. Like, if you start a drive at the 20 for whatever reason, it's like, man, they got miles to go. You're just used to seeing them start near, like, one play and they're at midfield.
And to be fair, they had a shot at winning from 61. 61's a long field goal, but they got there.
I thought what was interesting at the end of the game is, there was a pass interference in there on Emmanuel Forbes that helped Seattle with 10 seconds left. I thought the Rams, Forbes was getting a little grabby on that drive. And it was at the point where Seattle had just one timeout left, and the Rams were right to get a little grabby. Like, they should have picked up as many illegal contact penalties as their hearts desired, right? Pick up an illegal contact, get grabby, because the time was more important, right? When you have to drive the entire field and you waste 7 seconds on a play to just get 5 yards.
Except it's got to be illegal contact as opposed to pass interference.
It can't be pass interference, though. Forbes picked up a 13-yard pass interference, but the previous play he was grabbing JSN and kind of got away with it. And again, that's where I always come back to, you just see illegal contact in one game that's so ticky-tack, and you see one that's egregious on the other end, and it makes such a massive difference in the game.
So that play, the pass interference, it gives Seattle 1st and 10 from the Rams 49. So they're 1 yard the other side of midfield, but with only 5 seconds left on the clock. You're like, well, 5 seconds, what do? You try and they have a timeout. So 5 seconds, you try and get an instant few yards just to make it possible to kick from 61. So they did. Darnold almost held onto the ball so long that the clock ran out. Because the Rams dropped the entire defense. They didn't rush anybody. Yeah. The entire defensive line dropped off the line to take away the insta pass that the Seahawks wanted to throw. And Darnold almost crapped himself in that situation. Like, he went, and then finally got rid of the ball, goes down, Shaheed hits the turf and immediately is calling timeout, and they get 1 second to take the shot. But I've never seen that before. They dropped the entire defensive line. Sometimes you see them where they drop everyone off the line before the snap, and it's obvious there's only like two guys rushing or whatever. They literally had the line lined up and then dropped them all off into the throwing lanes, and Darnold almost seized up when it happened.
My favorite part of the 1 minute drill from Seattle is Greg Olsen in the booth once again, calling out everything that they should do, including that play. He's like, they got to catch and get down. And he's like in the middle of the play, like, you got to throw it. And then they barely got it down in time to at least attempt the 61-yarder. But Olsen was, calling out everything that they should do. And they were doing the opposite. He was like, throw up the seam, one more play. And they're like, throwing outside, whatever it was. It was just the opposite of everything that Olsen was calling out game situations like a quarterback does. Like I've complimented Romo before. I think the best thing that he brings to the table is game management, because you have to run the show as a quarterback. Even as a former tight end, Olsen has a great feel for what you're supposed to do. Not that your position matters, but not every color commentator is saying, here's exactly what needs to happen in this situation with mastery of game management. So just another feather in the cap of Greg Olsen as a color analyst. I think he's been outstanding.
That final drive, by the way, didn't quite, I think it was the second play. I think they ran for like 4 yards just to get breathing room in the first play. But the second play was a batted pass from Poona Ford, and there's just something funny about a 5'11" defensive tackle batting a pass at the line.
Just to give proper credit to the Rams as well, I think Poona Ford, by the way, has been a nice addition to that defensive line. He's a nice addition to every defensive line.
I mean, one thing, like Olsen was saying, if that guy was 6'1", he would be talked about in a completely different light. And I think he would be. On the other hand, I think it's the fact that he's 5'11" that makes him such a good player. Like Jason Kelce brought this up, that he was the guy that he hated to play the most. Like, obviously, Dexter Lawrence was somebody that he brought up as just, look, how am I supposed to block a guy like Dexter Lawrence? But he was like the other guy that gave me the most trouble was Poona Ford, because he's the one human who negates my advantage, right? He's shorter than me and he has longer arms. Therefore, he wins the leverage battle every time.
So good in the run game, just consistently year after year.
But it's the fact that he's that short that makes him the player he is. So people may talk about him in a different way if he was 6'1", but I don't think he'd be the same player if he was 6'1", because it's the fact that he's so low to the ground with those long arms that makes him so effective.
I thought the Rams pass rush did a nice job. Byron Young came free on the stunt. I told you that forced one of the Darnold interceptions. They do a nice job with the twists and stunts, and like they were in Darnold's face on all of those interceptions. So Jared Verse, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, thought they did a good job. The usual up front from the Rams as far as creating havoc. Kyron Williams ran the ball really well. Like I said, the Rams didn't run a ton of plays, but Kyron, a couple long runs, had the touchdown, forced a lot of missed tackles. I thought he did a great job running the ball.
And Seattle's run game was better than it's been as well. I mean, they got Kenneth Walker had a good performance. Like I said, other than the fact that Darnold threw 4 interceptions, this was a good game from Seattle.
So we tend to do this, right? Well, the Rams won, everything's good. Seattle lost, everything's bad. Your takeaway last night was like, to overcome 4 interceptions and at least have you could have had a game-winning field goal, 61 yards. It's not easy, but we could have been talking about Seattle surviving this thing.
If this was the first time we had seen Darnold implode against the Rams defense, I would be like, the next time these teams play, I would expect Seattle to win based off how this game goes. You know what I mean? Because the chances are Darnold's not going to have that same level of nuclear meltdown. The problem is we've already seen him do that. Like, this is now the third time, basically, that he's done that against the Rams defense. You're like, there's every chance that he melts down again the next time these two teams play.
Which is when? Is it week 18? Let me see here. I got it. No, week 16. Thursday night football. Is that Thursday night? Yeah. Thursday night football in Seattle, December 18th. So in Seattle, Darnold hasn't played them at... He wasn't awful against them in the regular season.
No, but he wasn't good either.
Yeah, but he hasn't played them at home yet.
Yeah.
He hasn't played the Rams at home yet. So that could change things. So the rematch is December 18th. And it was a big one in the NFC West. Rams, impressive win for them. But maybe it was somewhat evenly matched, and we'll see what happens in the rematch. That was a fun football game, though. All right, let's go. San Francisco 49ers get the win over the Cardinals. What was the final? 41-22. Brock Purdy makes his return. George Kittle, 2 touchdowns, but Purdy finishes 19 of 26 for 200, 3 touchdowns, no picks. A cool 133.5 passer rating in Purdy's return. Christian McCaffrey with 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 through the air, continuing to just be an offensive weapon. Maybe we've underrated this Niners offense and all of their weapons. And then on the other side, Jacoby Brissett sets an NFL record with 47 completions.
Multiple NFL records, I think.
Yeah, 47 of 57.
Yeah.
For 452, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks for Brissett.
Which is the most Jameis Winston stat line of all time. But
really
somehow belongs to Jacoby Brissett. Also wasn't sacked in that. Jacoby Brissett, of all people, had 57 dropbacks and was not sacked. That's how bad the San Francisco 49ers pass rush is. Like, Jacoby Brissett is a sack magnet and somehow had almost 60 dropbacks in this game without getting sacked.
Yeah, they got a couple pressures early, but as far as, like, 60-plus dropbacks or whatever, 57, but about 57 dropbacks.
Yeah, more or less.
I mean, there was no sacks, there was no scrambles. I was looking for scrambles. And they, got picked apart.
And this,
but it was mostly from behind. I mean, the Niners controlled this game, and an early Brissett interception really helped the Niners.
That's the thing. It was the turnovers. So, like, the first play of the game, Sky Moore takes the opening kickoff 98 yards and then gets run down from behind. That's
Chiefs
tough.
could use a playmaker like Sky Moore.
And then, again, like the 49ers get the ball back, and it's a dime Brock Purdy to George Kittle. Kittle is playing out of his mind
Kittle
this
looks
year.
great.
But Brock Purdy looked good as well in his return. So they're up 14-0, but you're like, yeah, but this is like the 49ers defense is terrible. Like, this is not over. Just hang in there, Arizona, and you can get this back. And they did answer, and you're like, this could be a game, a shootout game, admittedly. The problem is they just kept turning the ball over, so it wasn't. The Josh Dubow had a tweet that from the AP. The 49ers had a season high in points today with 41, but they also averaged a season low in yards per drive with just 23.4. So, like, they just kept getting set up in situations where they only had to drive, a first down, and they're in scoring position.
How many drives did they have? 12 drives for the Niners. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they had a 1-yard drive.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, McCaffrey touchdown, the Kittle touchdown, another interception. It was 25-10 at the half, and the Niners had several field goals in there. So, yeah, they just –
Arizona almost punches it in. The ball gets stripped out at the goal line. Like, they just kept – like, they put up almost 500 yards on the 49ers, but couldn't get in the end zone.
Second straight week, though, that's Arizona imploding too, right? They had the 2 strip sack touchdowns last week against Seattle. They've got the special teams meltdowns and turnovers in this one. I thought Arizona, I mean, they had been feisty for most of the year. Most of their losses were by 1 score. Last 2 weeks, they've gotten whooped by 2 division rivals.
Yeah. I mean, this was a very different type of game than the last one. But this will be disappointing, I think, because they could have hung in a shootout in this game, and this could have been like a back and forth, the high 30s scoring for both teams, but Arizona kept shooting themselves in the foot by turning it over and giving the 49ers easy drives.
They tried to hang in there, a couple deep passes to Michael Wilson, really nice catches. Michael Wilson finishes with 15 for 185, Trey McBride with 10 catches for 115, and of course another touchdown from Jacoby Brissett because that's what he does. And I mean, look, you go 47-57 because you're down 25-10 at the half, and you're just throwing the ball every single down. But again, as I said last night, if you gave me 100 guesses, which quarterback would break the record for most completions in a game, previously held by Drew Bledsoe, back in '94, and Jared Goff in 2019. 100 guesses of current quarterbacks. I think I might get to Brissett by guess 100.
I doubt it. I mean, I don't think you would. I think you would clear 100 names before you got to Jacoby Brissett if you were guessing that.
And he's throwing the ball well overall. But, yeah, his the interceptions were huge. That helped set up the Niners.
Yeah, he was only pressured 10 times in this game. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, the Niners don't have much of a pass rush. But the Niners are the winning team, so we should talk about what they've done here.
By the way, Michael Wilson?
Wilson, yeah.
Why was that 185 yards is the single game high this season. So Michael Wilson is now owner of the highest single game performance in yardage for any wide receiver this year.
It's a little funny, as Marvin Harrison Jr. fans generally, that he's out of the game
with appendicitis.
Like
it's not stupid reason to be out. Just random. Your body just decides to rebel on you in the course of the season.
And it's not like, oh, they've got plenty of other. I mean, Michael Wilson's a fine receiver. Trey McBride's awesome, and then Brissett just goes and breaks the completion record in the game that you're missing.
Yeah.
From a Niners perspective, though, Purdy, congrats to Mac Jones, holding the fort, did a really nice job. I still think they're a tick better with Purdy. I think you see elements of that. Just the
this is the best he's played. I mean, by far the best he's played this season, albeit, again, stupidly small sample sizes. But we were saying it might not be clear that he's an upgrade over Mac Jones unless he's 100% healthy and playing his better football, not just 100% healthy and has an average Brock Purdy game. He would need to come back and play good Brock Purdy level football, and he did. Came back and looked immediately good. Now, there was also a rough turnover-worthy play in there that was dropped early on, so I don't know what his PFF grade shakes out as, but that'll be in there. That won't be in the box score.
Yeah, but typical Purdy box score from the good years, and yet now that Kittle's balling out. Jawan Jennings, the way they're using McCaffrey out of the backfield and running the ball, I think, Niners offense coming together. I think I'm still concerned about the defense and the pass rush, of course.
I mean, it's bad.
But they might be in some shootouts, and, I think Purdy can add a little bit to this offense above where Mac Jones was.
It's the narrative that we were saying basically from the moment those two defensive superstars went down. Like, this offense still has the personnel to be extremely good and to put up points against anybody. But the defense without its two superstar players just doesn't have the ability to, it's the thing that caps how good this team can be. So, I think they're absolutely a playoff contending team, but I don't know if they can go on a run with that kind of defense.
Niners move to 7-4, though. Hanging tough in the NFC West here. Cardinals move to 3-7. They went from feisty one-loss team, our one-score game losing team, to just, rough the last couple weeks to fall to 3-7. All right, you ready?
4.
Baltimore Ravens 23. Cleveland Browns 16. Ravens back to 500 at 5-5, as we predicted.
Mm-hmm.
From 1-5 to 5-5. Browns fall to 2-8. It wasn't in the bag until late, though.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, the Browns battled. It was electric in Cleveland. Myles Garrett had 4 sacks. The game winner, though, Mark Andrews, lines up for the tush-push, and then they just run a little sweep, a little tush-push sweep. What a great wrinkle off the tush-push.
It's like a naked bootleg out of the push alignment. It's a bizarre play.
I'm fine with banning pushing offensive players. However, I love the creativity out of that. If you can expand the tush-push package, as the Eagles have shown, or as the Ravens showed in this one, a 4th and 1 from the Cleveland 35 tush-push setup. Mark Andrews runs a little naked boot, sweep, whatever you want to call it, for 35 yards for the eventual, or the game winner, 23-16. A lot of quirky stuff in this game, including Dylan Gabriel going down with a concussion in the NFL debut of Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah. And I suppose we'll get to that later in the thing. Let's talk about everything else in the game before we break down the Shedeur Sanders debut blow by blow. But yeah, it was when the Browns are in games this season, it's because the defense plays out of its mind and weird stuff happens. So, that was the case here. They got a pick six for the Browns defense, like a drop pass off Keaton Mitchell's hands, lands in the hands of a Browns defender, returns it for a touchdown.
Bush, pick 6.
Now you're up 13-3. That's a pretty healthy lead to be working with.
Ravens muffed a punt inside the 5.
Yeah.
Right?
Like stuff was going their way.
They were offsides on a 4th down punt. I mean, obviously a 4th down punt, but on a punt. The Ravens were killing themselves. And then Myles Garrett has 4 sacks.
Yep.
And
still a beast.
He's unbelievable.
He really is.
Not because of the 4 sacks.
No. But he recently passed did pass or tie? Like he had some record recently where he cleared Reggie White, and it's like, okay, Reggie's
most
yeah,
seasons
before the
with
age
12
of
sacks.
no, it was before the age of something where he cleared Reggie White. Albeit Reggie White spent a couple of years in the USFL or whatever, but now the one this time was he just cleared Lawrence Taylor in terms of the most seasons consecutively with 12 or more sacks. I remember a few years ago, like the lack of sacks relative to other pass rushers was being used as a stick to beat Myles Garrett with. All of a sudden, he's now breaking these sack record streaks and stuff. He is just a dominant force. Like he is so unbelievably, stupidly good. And yet, if everything else around him isn't good enough, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think it's worth explaining really quick again. I think the way we look at the game, Myles Garrett is always this good. It doesn't take a 4-sack game, or was it 5 sacks against New England a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
I don't think those games are necessarily better than other games he puts together. The difference is the quarterback holds the ball longer. Like in this one, there was, Lamar Jackson's rolling out and holding the ball forever, and then Garrett's finishing the play. Now so my point is, the dude's dominant every single week. And the difference between having 0, 1, or 4 sacks is how long the quarterback holds the ball. But Garrett is almost always this dominant. So it's not like, all of a sudden he's figuring out how to finish plays. It's like they're also pairing it with a good coverage unit, an aggressive coverage unit that does help the quarterback hold the ball a tick longer. And that's how you sack the quarterback. So trust me, I'm not taking anything away from Myles Garrett. I'm doing the opposite. I'm saying if you're just jumping on the Myles Garrett bandwagon, maybe he is this good. He's always been this good. The difference is then you combine it with a good coverage unit that makes the quarterback hold the ball a tick longer, and you have games where you have 5 sacks and you have 4 sacks, and all of a sudden the Browns defense is making enough plays to keep them in this game where, once again, their offense is inconsistent and it shouldn't have been this close.
He had a game, Mina Kimes tweeted this or posted this, multiple platforms, that Myles Garrett had the fastest get off of any player in the NFL in a single game this season. It was like 0.6 or something. And to put that into context, the fastest get off of any player in the NFL this season on average is 0.73, and it's Myles Garrett. So even by his own standards, he was like a 1/10 of a second faster on average getting off the line of scrimmage this game, and just was wrecking shop. 15 sacks. He's got to be. I mean, we're on record watch.
He's on pace to break the record.
Just about, right? It's 22.
I'll just say if someone deserves it, it's him. And like the point I keep trying to make is like the advanced stats that people don't love, pass rush win rate or a PFF pass rushing grade, like those are the numbers.
Don't love them when they don't say the thing they want them to say.
But those are the numbers that are doing the heavy lifting, is my point.
Yeah.
Those are the numbers that are showing the dominance and putting you in position for a game when Lamar Jackson holds the ball for 4 and 5 seconds, you're going to finish with a sack as well. Like Garrett's second or third sack, he destroys Ronnie Stanley. And then Lamar steps up and he's dancing around a little bit and he just doesn't throw it. And then Garrett still finishes the play with a sack. It's unbelievable. So, yes, to get 4 sacks, you need effort, you need finish, you need to win up front. Garrett has all of that. He's awesome. Mm-hmm. And it's the only way that the Browns have a chance to win. Dylan Gabriel goes out with a concussion.
Yep.
Shedeur Sanders comes
in.
Now, some people's Shedeur Sanders takes I don't even want to acknowledge.
Oh, can we not? No, let's acknowledge them. We have to.
It's bad for society.
I think we have to draw people's attention. You should go just for the entertainment. You should go to Josina Anderson's Twitter feed and watch the stream of madness that is her description of the Shedeur Sanders debut. It is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life.
Let me add to this. The stream of madness that you talk about goes back to April. It's not just yesterday.
And
it's
beyond.
Anything related to Shedeur Sanders.
It is absolutely the craziest. I mean,
I don't want you to call attention to that.
No, it's worth it.
I think it's
so funny. It's worth
bad
looking
for society.
at. It's so funny. It's you hear people talk all the time about, you're biased. Like your take is biased. This is the most biased thing I have ever seen in my life. It is like it's like a cartoon level of like warping anything that happened with your description.
Yet
like
predictable.
I sent you the thing. What was the word for word of her description? Here we go. Shedeur Sanders, with hardly any first-team reps this season,
Hold on.
throws a pick.
Hold on. I'm bad at interrupting you. Can I just give his stat line first before you break down what happened?
Sure.
Okay. Shedeur finished 4 of 16 for 47 yards.
Mm-hmm.
He got sacked twice for negative 27.
Yeah.
He had an intentional grounding in there and had a pick.
Yes.
3 carries for 16
But
yards.
despite that, it was a resounding success as a debut if you read the feed of Josina Anderson.
Go ahead.
So that was her description. Like, she's sort of play-by-play tweeting this thing. And a normal person would be like, it's a rough pick by Shedeur. She's like, Shedeur Sanders, with hardly any first-team reps this season, throws a pick. It's some of the craziest slanted, warped interpretation of anything. And then it was like, here was the against all odds 3rd and 10 completion by Shedeur Sanders under 2 minutes. And it's the play where he throws like a late shallow drag to Jerry Jeudy, who then makes 3 people miss to gain 8 more yards and convert the first down. And you're like, what are you saying?
That was the one that was so insane. I didn't even want to call attention that there are people who supposedly analyze the NFL for a living who put that out there unironically.
Yeah.
That upset me.
And then she got like half a dozen tweets talking about the fact that Sanders hasn't had any first-team reps.
Against all odds. So
just in case you wanted to read anything into this.
The 3rd and 10.
Hasn't played with the first team.
The 3rd and 10 check down to Jeudy for 3 yards.
Yes.
So I clicked into it. Like, what did people say to this? Against all odds, 3rd and 10 completion. It wasn't like he
backs against the wall,
throws this tight window throw. He hits this wide open check down and skinny knee Jeudy makes a great play, juking 4 guys to get to the first down marker. So I clicked into it and somebody's like, Jeudy did all the work, and she's like, why are you taking away credit? Why are you hating it? It's like, this is called football. That's called football. It's just understanding football. When you have a check down on 3rd and 10 for 3 yards and the receiver does all the work, you say, hey, the receiver does all the work.
Yeah.
Now you're getting me riled up. This is why we can't bring this up.
It's a nothing play.
This is insane.
From Shedeur. Like,
it's
if anything,
absolutely insane.
It's almost a negative play because it's 3rd and 10. He's checking down for 2 yards. Like, Jeudy makes all that. But anyway,
Elon
it's
Musk
certainly
needs
not
to
a
step
positive.
in. I'm all for free speech, but someone needs to step in on that account.
I'm just saying
it's all misinformation. People argue about misinformation all the time. Her entire account is misinformation.
There are, people are biased in all different ways. And with Shedeur Sanders, there's bias he's working in every direction. But that is the single greatest stream of madness I've ever seen attached to an account. There's like, I'm going to tweet about this, and everything is going to be in one direction at the 99th percentile of crazy, regardless of the facts that are happening around me. Okay, so
now
if you want to,
the other end of it.
Well, if you want to see a crazy interpretation of Shedeur Sanders' debut, I would urge you to just read her timeline. And
it was the best 4 of 16 outing we've ever seen in NFL history per Josina.
Right.
Now, on the other end,
for what actually happened,
I'm sure people are going to say bad interception and 4 of 16 and the sacks and he's running backwards, and somebody's going to say this dude's not an NFL quarterback. We'll give you the level-headed take. This was certainly not the best debut for Shedeur Sanders.
And
it's also not like fully inclusive of what he could be.
Yeah. Like, look, the point she's stressing is real, which is this was not an intended debut, right? This was Dylan Gabriel got concussed, and Shedeur has to go into the game, with no experience and no first team no preparation and no first team reps. And this was not how you draw it up if you're the Browns trying to get Shedeur Sanders his debut to showcase him in the best possible light. That being said, this is the NFL. This we got to deal with as a backup quarterback, right? If you're the number 2 guy on the depth chart, you are only ever one play away from being thrown in. And that's, it's on you. You hear all the time about these guys preparing as if they're the starter. Now, maybe that's harder to do if you don't get any first team reps, but whatever. This is the world. He's thrown out there. He's got to make it happen. And it wasn't, he wasn't set up in the best light during the game either. Like, I think the first 3 drives, he was facing at least 3rd and 6 and beyond, and that didn't go well, right? But you also saw very clearly all of the negatives people focused on as his sort of prospect profile were still there. And everyone that's been saying, Dylan Gabriel's ass, why are we not seeing Shedeur Sanders? Well, this is why. Like, Dylan Gabriel might be terrible, and yet it's not obvious that Shedeur Sanders is better. And the reason he's not obviously better is because anytime there's any sign of pressure, he either makes it worse or invites the pressure in the first place.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things when we broke down at draft time, which, by the way, you and I both like Shedeur, but we said if he doesn't handle or manage the pocket, or if the Colorado offensive line, which was awful, was so bad that these habits are ingrained in him, he needs to undo these habits. Because I think he's a good thrower of the football, right? I think he can throw the ball accurately and do some good things. But if he's going to keep moving backwards in the pocket with below average, maybe average at best NFL athleticism, it's not going to go well.
The problem is this felt like a Colorado offensive performance in terms of pressure, and yet the Browns don't have the Colorado offensive line. The concerning element is this looked like the same thing as when his offensive line was so bad you basically can't take anything from the game, and yet the offensive line isn't that bad in Cleveland. It's not great, but it's not like, for example, Dylan Gabriel was under pressure a couple of times in the game, and Shedeur Sanders was under pressure immediately 7 times and got no positive plays out of it.
Now, Gabriel might not be under pressure because he throws the ball too early before his receivers are even looking, but pressure's not going to get there at least.
He knows that ball's going to be out fast. I mean, I
don't want to spend the whole time on this. I'm picturing next week. They're playing the Raiders. Shedeur Sanders gets his first start against the Raiders. He gets sacked 7 times, 4 by Max Crosby. Not even Max Crosby winning. It's because Shedeur drops back to 12 yards and
then
runs
bails to the right to Max Crosby's side.
And then Josina's like, man, this offensive line's terrible, and they got the worst receivers. And he finishes 12 of 29 with 7 sacks, and we've got another stream of consciousness excuses when it's just he's a rookie. He's probably not ready.
But
to play
right
now.
It's remarkably.
Or maybe he's good. Who knows?
It is instructive, the difference between the way Dylan Gabriel was playing the game and the way Shedeur Sanders was playing the game. And look, there's a happy middle ground. Actually, if you put the two together, you have the quarterback that you're actually attempting to find, which is a guy who's willing to push the ball deeper down the field, but doesn't hold the ball forever and take stupid sacks, right? Dylan Gabriel got the ball out of his hands on average faster than 2.5 seconds. Shedeur Sanders was over 3 seconds. Dylan Gabriel was not pressured very much at all. Shedeur Sanders was pressured quite a lot. Dylan Gabriel's average depth of target was under 6. Shedeur Sanders, his wasn't good either, but he at least took a deep shot and put the ball in the hands of his receiver late in the game, which honestly should have been caught and would have been a big play. It's actually the quarterback the Browns are looking for is an exact composite of those two guys.
It's a great example how two different quarterbacks can, stylistically be completely different. The offense looks completely different because they approach it with different style. And it's not that the play calls have been different. They didn't call different plays. They called different plays technically, but not the bad plays.
And by the way, that's probably why the Browns didn't think either one of these guys was really an answer to their quarterback position, or why they both went after the first couple of rounds of the draft, because each one of them has a glaring critical flaw that the other one has the opposite of. If you put them both together, you've got a first-round draft prospect. If you take them as they are, apparently neither one of those guys is a high-level guy based off this one short, small sample size of evidence.
So my hot take is he's probably better than a 4 for 16 quarterback, net 20 passing yards on 18 dropbacks. I think he's probably better than that.
Yeah.
But we did see in the preseason games like that, right? He dropped back 12 times, got sacked 5 times. That's the type of stuff. If he gets a start next week,
we've seen he's capable of better than this. And if you did give him a very good offensive line level of protection, I think you would see a guy who is capable of pushing the ball down the field and making some really good throws. The problem is this game is possible in any situation.
Yeah.
And we saw that in his college tape all the way. We saw it in preseason, and now we've seen it in the regular season. This was the thing that people were identifying and were like, this is too bad to succeed at the NFL. But we weren't certain in college how much of that was the offensive line, because Colorado's offensive line was abysmal. So the question was, and this is a big part of is he a first-round player? Is he a fifth-round player? Nobody thought he was a fifth-round player, but other things dragged him down that far. But it's is he a first-round guy? Is he a day 2 guy? Is he a day 3 guy? The variable there is how much of his college behavior do you attribute to the offensive line versus him? The fact that he's done it in preseason and in his regular season debut, however short, suggests at least a pretty large chunk of that is him. And if it is, that's prohibitive. Like, that does not work at the NFL level. Cannot do that.
Going back to put a bow on this, as I like to say, my lukewarm take for those tuning in just to hear about Shedeur Sanders. He is somewhere in between the worst quarterback of all time and the subject of a conspiracy theory of the NFL trying to hold him down, and the Browns trying to play their worst quarterbacks ahead of him. Like he's somewhere in between the worst quarterback of all time and a conspiracy to hold him down and not let him play. Is that fair?
Yeah. I will say, though, I want to make that point again about where are we? 3rd and 5, late in the game, like a minute left. They're only down a touchdown. He basically, it's not the best pass in the world. It's a little underthrown. But he basically puts the ball in the hands of Laverdale in the end zone. Like, he took the shot. It's one-on-one coverage on the outside. He took the shot. He gave his receiver a chance to make a play. And Chidobe Awuzie breaks the pass up and saves a touchdown. Like, if that pass is complete, number one, Twitter explodes. Number two, we may be having a very different conversation on Shedeur Sanders. Like, it's the Bears, J.J. McCarthy conversation from earlier in the season. Sure, most of what we saw was trash. However, look at this one dime, the clutch play to win the game or get them back, give them a shot to win it, et cetera. Like, it would be a very different conversation. And only for Awuzie just getting his hand in there and getting it out of Laverdale's hands, it's like, it's just straight trash, start to finish. There's nothing good.
And we're just the bad media people spending all our time talking Shedeur Sanders.
But that's the play. Like, if you're the Browns or if you're Browns fans looking for anything this season, like, the thing that Dylan Gabriel brings to the table is he's getting rid of the ball quickly. He's trying to offset the bad offensive line, and he's just trying to be efficient and operate within the offense. And the thing they're trying to get him to do is, that's great, love it. However, just take a shot. Be a little bit more aggressive. Push the ball down the field. You got to make a couple of big plays sooner or later. Otherwise, what are you even doing here, right? Shedeur Sanders, the thing he brings to the table is he will take a shot. He'll give you, if he reads single coverage and he hangs in there just long enough to get rid of the ball, he'll take a shot deep down the field. The problem is, like, the coaching points for him are going to be, dude, what you can't run out of the back of your own pocket, and you can't hold on the ball for an hour every play.
His interception may have been a slight miscommunication, but Nate Wiggins is sitting on the throw, and he's under pressure. He threw one right to Kyle Hamilton. That Kyle Hamilton Shedeur had some questionable decisions in there in the limited time. But Curious to see what happens if he does get a start next week, though, against the Raiders.
Like, the flaw for each guy at the moment is crippling. Like, neither one of them can be starting quarterbacks in the NFL because of the current flaw that they possess. Dylan Gabriel simply will not push the ball down the field enough to make him worth it. And Shedeur Sanders has a prohibitive relationship with the pocket in a way that just doesn't work at the NFL level.
From a Ravens perspective, really quick, it was a sloppy game for them. I mentioned the muff punts, the pick six on a drop. They're just fourth down. They looked ugly. Mm-hmm. They survived.
Yep.
Against a lesser team. They're 5-5. They play the Jets and Bengals the next 2 weeks. I keep setting this up for they go to Pittsburgh or face Pittsburgh in December twice. They got to play better, though. I think if they're going to beat the good team. When they face good teams again, Pittsburgh, New England, Green Bay, got to play better if you're the Ravens. But they survive.
Derrick Henry finally has more career rushing yards than his 4-year college career.
High school career?
Sorry, high school career.
Unbelievable.
He does, however, need about 40 more touchdowns to surpass his high school total.
His high school numbers are insane.
They really are. He had 155, I think, I'm remembering that correctly, rushing touchdowns in high school. In a 4-year high school. Can you imagine being the poor 17-year-old kid to having to tackle that guy?
No, and legit recruiters wanted to move him to linebacker. Which you're like, you don't get too many guys this size that stay at running back. Let's move him to linebacker. He'd be the next LaVon Kirkland.
It does make you wonder, though, how many of these guys that just get changed position because it's like, you're going to be a freak athlete as a defensive end. But how many of them, if you just left them at running back, would still be monster?
Would be awesome.
Would be, Christian Okoye at the next level. You're like a 270-pound running back, and it's working.
We got to move on. We got 2 big games to discuss. Had to talk about Shedeur for an hour.
Yeah.
Denver Broncos 22. Kansas City Chiefs 19. Broncos move to 9-2. Chiefs fall to 5-5. Bo Nix and the Broncos do it again. A game-winning field goal to defeat the Chiefs, make another fourth quarter comeback for Denver, whose defense stepped up, held Mahomes in check, forced a turnover, and then Bo Nix making the big plays when needed, including the long 35-yard pass to Troy Franklin to set up the game winner.
Yeah, fascinating performance, a fascinating game. What a bizarre play call as well for that situation. We're going to take a shot to Troy Franklin in a critical, gotta-have-it situation because that's been so efficient.
Got to feed Troy Franklin.
It's weird because I think he leads the team in targets, right? Like he's their number one target, despite bizarre inefficiency between Bo Nix and Troy Franklin, particularly deep. Now, this game, less so, right? Troy did drop a couple. That's not great. But they did connect in a way they haven't always.
So just going back, like the start of the game here, Broncos had a long drive, settle for a field goal. They're up 3-0. Mahomes comes back, and he attacked down the field early. Mm-hmm. He missed Xavier Worthy, who was wide open for a touchdown. Would have been 70 yards or whatever. And then overthrows Tyquan Thornton, who I think is still the Chiefs MVP. So 2 overthrows early from Mahomes. Like, they tried to attack down the field early. And then, as Romo pointed out, then they settled down. Kind of did that loosen up the defense a little bit, and then kind of settled into quick passing game. We're going to try to negate the Broncos' pass rush. But I thought if you look at Mahomes' game as a whole and what the Broncos' defense did, I think they sacked him on a couple key plays, 3rd and 1 at the end of the half. And then at the end of the game, the Chiefs were up. They were up 3. The Broncos came back to tie it. And Mahomes gets the ball back with a couple minutes left. Those are the situations they almost always come through, the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Mahomes gets the ball in a tie game, 4:05, and they go 3 and out, sacked on 3rd and 10, and fooled on 3rd and 10. It was Jaquan McMillan coming off the slot for his second sack. And so the Broncos defense, I don't think they had that. Like the Chiefs' quick passing game was able to negate the pass rush of the Broncos from a down-to-down standpoint. He still got sacked 3 times, Mahomes. But when they had to make the plays down the field, the Broncos' pass rush got home, and it was the blitz that got them. So I thought Denver did a really good job. I don't know if Mahomes was seeing the field well. He had a red zone interception on a scramble drill. The other controversial one, beginning of the second half, Mahomes throws what looks like a pick six, and it gets negated with an illegal contact on the other side of the field or in the middle of the field. And I can call it a ticky-tack illegal contact, but I don't think Mahomes was just taking a chance because he saw the flag or anything. That's, first off, almost impossible to do on the field, especially like an illegal contact. He just turned and panicked through a pick six from what I saw. So they had him not seeing the field. They took some low percentage shots early. Mahomes missed them. They had 2 touchdown opportunities that he missed. And even after all that, the Chiefs still had an opportunity. But again, Denver's defense, the combination of the fear of the pass rush, blitzing at the right time, like the 3rd and 10, and then forcing the red zone turnover, great interception by Jaquan McMillan. Defense did it again for Denver.
Yeah, I think you've got to give Denver's defense a ton of credit. They dominated again. They looked fantastic. It's the best pass rush in the NFL. It's an elite coverage unit, even without Patrick Surtain on the back end. They did a really good job on this Chiefs offense, which has kind of put itself together with all their weapons back. I mean, this was a really impressive defensive performance. And then, as it is generally every week, but it was against the Chiefs, so that's a notable milestone anyway. And then the Denver's offense was able to answer as well.
And they had Josh Simmons was back at left tackle, and this was with Travis Kelce ended up having a really good game. They started feeding him in the second half, and I thought there was a point where he saved their season. 3rd and 6, takes a little shallow cross, runs through contact for a 21-yard touchdown. So Kelce got his, but they had Kelce, they had Rashee Rice, they had Xavier Worthy, they had their left tackle back. They had everybody back.
And Simmons did a good job. I mean, Nick Bonito, this was one of the most anonymous games he's had, albeit he left with some injury and wasn't healthy for the 100% of the game. But he hadn't made the kind of impact that he'd made in previous games. Josh Simmons was doing a good job against Nick Bonito.
But again, I think that was one where, Denver had a really good pass rush plan. I saw them using Bonito kind of like they'd stunt him and kind of spy Mahomes when they were bringing pressure. And that was what they did on the 3rd and 10. And usually if you have an unblocked rusher on Mahomes, he's either going to make him miss or he's going to make you pay by throwing behind him. And they didn't. Denver did a great job, I think, disguising and making those key plays. And then if you go back and look at where Kansas City moved the ball, they had a 61-yarder to Tyquan Thornton. So Mahomes misses those 2 deep balls early. But then they just keep taking a couple chances. And you get 2 40-plus yard pass interferences on Riley Moss. And
the league, the league has it out for Riley Moss. That man is unfairly penalized at a level.
I thought one was really weak.
Yes.
But this was the Chiefs' offense. So now for the Chiefs are coming off a bye, but their last 2 games against Buffalo, Mahomes has the lowest completion percentage of his career. And if you go back, like, how were the Chiefs even in that game? They hit like 4 big plays. A couple big plays, a 4th and 17. So it was very low percentage, but they had a couple big plays. This game, you had more of the short pass game for Kansas City. However, their 3 biggest plays, Tyquan Thornton for 61, kind of a bit of a prayer. Maybe he got away with a little push-off, 61 yards. By the way, he should have been down by contact.
No.
Why?
Because there was no contact before the ball.
He pushed
after.
off. He made contact with the defender.
But the ball, he hadn't caught the ball at that point. You're not down by contact
you're right.
unless you catch the ball.
So anyway, 61-yarder to Thornton, and then 2 40-plus yard pass interferences. That is a huge chunk of Kansas City moving the ball.
Yeah.
But there was, and then Denver just made a bunch of big stops on 3rd down in the red zone and, in crunch time.
Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs were 5 of 13 on 3rd down. The Denver defense did a really good job. I don't think that was a push off by Tyquan Thornton. That was one of those plays where you're like in contact and then you backing off into the space, like the Randy Moss play, but in reverse.
Yeah.
Instead of facing away from the defender and backing him up and then launching yourself into the space that you've created, he did it from the other direction. So it looks like a push, but he's not pushing off. He's just separating.
It's a great play by Thornton. But so Thornton was open early and Mahomes missed him. He makes this play, which turns into a 61-yarder. That dude has made so many big plays for the Chiefs this year. And for whatever reason, I know what reason. Like, since Rashee Rice came back, they've kind of phased Thornton out. But, man, I throw him the ball a little bit more. But, look, Denver's defense, the red zone interception, they held the Chiefs to 1 of 4 in the red zone. The Broncos had their own issues in the red zone, settling for field goals. But they made a bunch of big plays on 3rd down. Bo Nix, multiple 3rd down conversions with the game on the line. And it was like this season of let me back up to this. I thought this was fascinating. Halftime, it's 6-6. And at the end of the half, Denver punted. And I told you they got the sack on the Chiefs on 3rd and 1, which, by the way, I don't know if Mahomes did. Mahomes had Noah Gray on that play. He could have dumped it off to him, and it would have gone for 60 and set them up for a field goal at least before the half. Sean Payton comes out of the half. Talk about bulletin board material and everything. Not that they could hear it during the game. He said, I love where we are. They're not a good second half team. We feel good about this game. Sean Payton saying that at halftime, right? If you said this before the game, it's like, bulletin board material. You're calling out the Chiefs. You're calling out Mahomes and the Chiefs in the 4th quarter, in the second half. You're calling them out. And Sean Payton very confidently said, love where we are. It's 6-6, right where we wanted to be. He punted right before the half, almost like content to be 6-6. We're a second half team. We win in the 4th quarter. We're going to do it. And they did it. They backed it up. I thought it was just fascinating. And they were down. They were down 19-16 in the 4th quarter, got the game-tying field goal, and then the eventual game winner. I just thought it was I hate the coach interviews, but when you say something like that and it kind of like reveals where you're, like the headspace that you're in, I thought that was a worthwhile halftime interview. And Sean Payton and the Broncos backed it up in the second half against the Chiefs.
It's only taken, whatever it is, 3 years, and we finally had something interesting being said in a coach interview.
You finally have a good coaching interview.
Bo Nix, I thought, had a much more impressive game this time. His efficiency would have been even higher if it wasn't for Troy Franklin dropping a couple of passes. They did end up connecting when it mattered most. Again, like it's such a bizarre decision to throw that pass, and yet it was a perfect pass, and Troy Franklin made the play, and it worked.
I mean, it was his second read. He came back. They said someone left a note, I think, on our show last night that he tried to, because it was a corner route, and he kind of like back shouldered the corner. It was a great throw. It was just a great play. It wasn't their first read. It was just, that was what was there.
It's just such a strange thing to dial up, given the inability to connect that those two have had since they came together.
I mean, Troy Franklin's a good receiver. He just, drops some passes here and there. I liked how they were using Pat Bryant early on, Denver. They got all their receivers involved. They got Evan Ingram involved. I thought they did a really nice job spreading the ball. I thought Denver also did a nice job not getting – they're not a run-heavy team anyway, but I think against the Chiefs are – I think they're a better run team. I got to say this the right way. I think good teams running the ball, good running teams can run on the Chiefs. I think average run games, they shut them down. They can shut them down. And so I think Denver stayed aggressive is my point. Pass-heavy game script, converted key third downs, and they were just aggressive, right? You're going up against Spags' defense, and even though they had some red zone issues when they got there, the Broncos moved the ball pretty well. And there was a bit of a lull in the middle of the game where it felt like the Chiefs were getting control of it, but Denver came back and took control in the fourth quarter, and Bo Nix made more plays than Patrick Mahomes when the game was on the line. For Broncos fans who want your Bo Nix fix, that was just the truth. That's what happened yesterday.
Yep, and Denver gets Patrick Surtain back at some point. That's going to be huge. I mean, the players that have been playing in his stead have done a really good job, but getting him back in the lineup is going to be a huge add.
What else on this one here?
Chris Jones had his best game for a long time. Chris Jones, Travis Kelce had a big game as well. It was like a throwback to vintage Chiefs where like their star players from yesteryear are still stars.
Jaquan McMillan finishes with 6 tackles, 2 sacks, and an interception as a slot corner. I saw Perna put out that stat line last night. It's fascinating for a corner. Had the 2 sacks and then the red zone interception, man. Again, Mahomes, I'd like to, I don't know if you went back and really watched what could have been a pick 6. The illegal contact was a fine penalty, but again, it was like completely unrelated. So if you go back and look at some of the decisions Mahomes made between the red zone interception, the negated pick 6, there was a bit of a panic throw in there under pressure against the Broncos. You don't see that often, and they got away with it. So Broncos end up getting the win. They are in full control in this division now with the Chargers losing, even though the Chargers won the first matchup. Broncos now have a 2-game lead over the Chargers. The Chiefs are sitting here at 5-5, tied with the Texans as far as record goes, tied with the Ravens. On the outside looking in at the playoff picture, they're a game behind Jacksonville, who has the tiebreaker over them, 2 games behind the Chargers, who have the tiebreaker over them. So you are a game and a half behind the Chargers. So the Chiefs are really now in danger of making the playoffs. They still could sneak in as a 6 or a 7, but division could be completely out of reach, and it's Denver's division now as long as they don't slip up down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I think the division's pretty much gone. I still don't have a huge amount of fear that they don't make the playoffs. One of their games against Houston, they've got plenty of winnable.
They have the Raiders, the Titans. They've
plenty of winnable games on the schedule, including a game against Houston, who are another team vaguely in that mix for the wild card spot. I would be still pretty shocked if they didn't make the playoffs.
Well, Kansas City's got a stretch right now. So they got Indianapolis this week coming off their bye.
Right.
An 8-2 Indy team.
Which is by far their hardest game left on the schedule.
No, except Denver.
I mean, that in Denver. But, those are the 2 games. And you've got Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles Chargers with a bad offensive line, Tennessee, and the Raiders.
Yeah. But the Colts this week coming off a bye, and then the short week going to Dallas. Dallas again, some reinforcements on their defense. It's Thanksgiving. So they've got a stretch here where this is going to determine their season, Kansas City. The Chiefs now 0-5 in one-score games and 0-5 when their opponent scores at least 21 points. So they're not winning, they're not keeping up offensively. They're not winning the close games. They're not doing anything that they've done in the past. And so it'll be interesting. If they do sneak into the playoffs, they've got this history, man. All right? Never know. But at some point, some of the weaknesses might catch up. And then for Denver, statement game. for the program. Statement game for Sean Payton. They should have beaten or could have beaten Kansas City without the blocked field goal last year at Arrowhead. They beat Kansas City's backups in Week 18. But Vance Joseph's done a great job against Mahomes in that offense. Sean Payton, they've done a really nice job against the Chiefs. And it's like, I like the way they broke it down on the broadcast. Like the Broncos have been building their defense for this moment to beat the Chiefs. And they made a statement that, hey, they can do it. They are the team to beat in the division this year. Mm-hmm. I love the stat that was like, these are the two teams that have won the division for the last 12, 15, whatever the number was. It's like the Chiefs for the last 9. But it's Broncos plus. Broncos plus Chiefs have won all the divisions.
I mean, the fact that it's like 9 straight years for Kansas City is pretty crazy.
I know. Did I have anything else on this one? Did you want to give Bo Nix a little bit more credit for the Broncos fans who came in? They're real excited on a victory Monday. Bo's taken so much heat for not playing well in the first 3 quarters of games.
Yeah, I mean, we gave him plenty of credit. He played very well in this game.
He needs more.
He made the plays when they needed to be made. We've had games where it's like, how could you come out of that game and be a believer in Bo Nix? I mean, this was the opposite. This is the game where you'd be like, if you are a believer in Bo Nix, you point to this game and be like, look what he just did against the Chiefs.
Yeah, and that's why, like, coming off the Raiders game, he's had some rough games, but we've seen him play well before. We've seen him play well in Arrowhead. I saw the Broncos beat reporters putting out the Chiefs stats last week. I'm like, you just have to add the context that he went 26 of 29 with 4 touchdowns against backups. Doesn't mean he didn't play well in the other game, but it is the second game that he's played well against Spags' defense and their starters the entire game, which is impressive and does bode well for Denver. They'll meet in Arrowhead Christmas night, by the way. Christmas night, Broncos and Chiefs is the rematch. All right, let's wrap it up. Sunday Night Football. Philadelphia Eagles get the win 16-9 over the Detroit Lions.
In the wind.
Have now won 16-9 and 10-7 in the last 6 days. It was very windy. So much so that it wasn't all the wind. Man, the Eagles' defense was so good, but they had like 900 batted passes. They had Goff completely off on his throws.
Yeah.
I do think weather does matter because it's not even that every single throw is like going all over the place. It's like you got to change. You got to put a little bit more zip on it. Things change. So the weather, the Eagles' defense, the batted passes, Goff finishes 14 of 37. The completion percentage leader coming in, 14 of 37 for 255, and 2 for his last 18. And I got to check the stats. Where was he beyond the line of scrimmage? It was like 2 for $1 million or something. All of his passes were behind the line of scrimmage to Jahmyr Gibbs, who was awesome.
I mean, they basically got nothing going at all in the game. And then there was like a couple of plays where it's like a screen to Jahmyr Gibbs and then a couple of shots to Jameson Williams over the middle. And that's it. Like outside of that, the Lions offense basically had absolutely nothing over the course of the game. It's interesting. Like the first thing that the broadcast said, like the first thing that Chris said when it pitched to him as part of the opening was, man, it's crazy windy tonight. And then they show you this little montage of the kicks and warm up and these like boomerang balls that are getting grabbed by the wind and whipped sideways. And you're like, wow, it's going to be, one of those games. I feel like they kind of over-egged that at some point though. Like it definitely was there, and certainly in warm-ups it was there. But then we're seeing some of these kicks. It's like there's flags on top of the goalpost, right? You could see that there's wind or otherwise. And I don't know that the wind was as bad as it was at its peak gusting at some point in warm-ups. I don't know that we were dealing with that for the entire game. And it certainly had an effect, but I'm not sure this was one of those games you're like, man, there's no point even putting the ball in the air with this wind.
I mean, they called it on the extra point for sure. It was, even though it was, what'd you say, going the other way. 6-0 Philly. Goff hits Jameson Williams for 40 yards over the middle. Man, there's a few plays where Jameson Williams' speed just takes over.
Yeah.
Great
him
play.
and Gibbs. Just the speed that those two were able to deploy is nuts.
That's what's incredible, right? Like they had several of those plays, which is that much more impressive for Philadelphia's defense and how well they played. Like if you drop back, you take that many shots, like, yeah, Gibbs is going to make some plays or Jameson Williams might make some plays. But that made it 6-6. Jameson Williams hugs the goalpost, picks up a penalty, moves the extra point back. They miss it. So it stayed 6-6. The key to this game, though, as we said on the show, the preview, got to make your fourth downs.
Well,
The
you
Lions
got to at least
go 0 for 5 on fourth down.
You got to at least make a representative number of your fourth downs. You can't go 0-5 on fourth downs and expect to win the game. And yet somehow they were 0-5 on fourth down and should have had the ball back in order to try and win the game right at the end.
It all came down to that, yes.
Ridiculous pass interference call.
Yes. Now, there were other ridiculous calls against the Eagles. Just it wasn't one-sided completely here. But the Lions going 3 for 13 on third down and then 0 for 5 on fourth down. And, of course, Dan Campbell's just like, yeah, we're going to go for all of it. Somebody finally talked him into kicking the field goal to make it 16-9. So it's like, Dan, it's 4th and 17.
Double down.
I know it's a long field goal. I know there's some wind, but we got to get within one score here to give us a chance. And they finally kicked a field goal. But 0 for 5 on fourth down, that's the difference in the game. And none of them were even that. I mean, there was like a little bit of a drop, but every throw was either just off or the passing windows are contested. Like, that's the thing with this Eagles defense. The same way, like, what they did to Mahomes and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, it's like everything is a challenge. And if it's not, you'll get some Jameson Williams. You'll get some big ones. You'll get a Jahmyr Gibbs big catch and run here and there. But most of the downfield stuff was tight window and contested or batted at the line of scrimmage. Would they have 6 batted passes at the line of scrimmage? Between Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, they did such a good job.
Davis had 3 of them, I think, by himself.
Yeah.
It is fascinating. Like, you rarely get games like this where a team goes for that many fourth downs. It gets nothing, none of them. Like, what happens if all the plays go the other way? And that's the way it worked in this game. And
if they just go 3 for 5 on fourth down, things are different.
I mean, totally different. And maybe if they get one of them, we might be talking about a completely different game. They were only ever one drive effectively away from this game somehow going in their direction. You're like, this is unbelievable that this game is still as close as it is because the Lions cannot do anything on offense except every now and again they string together 2 plays, and that's enough. Like, boom, drive, touchdown. But they couldn't get any of them. And in their defense, it's not like they were all, there was an obvious field goal to be had if you just kick your points, right? Number one, the wind is a factor here. I don't know that you want to attempt a particularly long field goal at any point in this game. And a couple of them, were not even in field goal range anyway. So, they were in the area where you normally go for fourth downs a lot anyway. So it's kind of understandable that they went for them. However, it's so strange. You rarely see a team go for that many fourth downs. You never see them get none of them. I mean, this is like a record number of failures on fourth down for any team ever. The amount, like 0-5, I think, was the most anyone could find going back like 25 years.
Yeah, you don't have games unless it's like way out of reach.
Right.
You don't have teams going for it even that often.
So it was just such a crazy, unique element to this game where the Lions just kept going for these fourth downs, getting literally none of them. And then Detroit's defense performing miracles to stop the damage. Like, They'd failed on 3 or 4 fourth downs, I think, at one point, and they'd only allowed 6 points from it.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions, the defense kept them in it.
Like, they had 3.
Eagles missed a couple opportunities on some good throws from Jalen Hurts. They tried to feed A.J. Brown, but for the most part, the Lions kept him in front.
There were 3 Eagles drives that started inside Detroit territory earlier in the game, and they'd only gotten 6 points out of it. Like, Detroit's defense, particularly when you factor in the injuries that they've got, was doing amazing work.
And they stopped the tush-push.
Yes.
They stopped, and that was the other part. It's a 1-score game, right? Or 2-score game. And they stopped them on 3rd and 4th and 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Lions are the NFC North team that stopped the tush-push. Forget the Packers tried to use legislation. The Lions
they tried to
stopped it on the field.
They tried to stop it legally.
Yes.
They tried to stop it, legislatively. The Lions just manned up and stopped
it. The Lions did it on the field, stopping the push.
Yeah.
There was also, they finally started calling the false start on the tush-push. Of course, it was wrong. I
don't know if it was wrong.
It was a neutral zone.
But so... Yeah, but
Tyreek Williams, he had his hand in the neutral zone.
Correct.
And Tyler Steen grabbed his hand.
Right.
Which is responding to the neutral zone infraction. That should have been offsides.
But you're not – so when you jump into the neutral zone, if you react to that, it's a penalty. As in the neutral zone infraction is the penalty.
You're saying because his hand is just sitting there?
If you're just lined up there, I don't think you can just start like slapping his hand. That's not reacting to it. That's something completely different that nobody's ever seen before. I don't know what even whoever Terry McCauley, whoever their rules analyst is, was like, I don't know what you do with that. Like I've never seen that before. I have no idea.
They should just use the spider cam.
But the weird part about it,
view to officiate the push.
But to me, so the hand in the neutral zone is, it's illegal if they snap the ball. It's nothing if they don't. The patting him on the hand to be like, dude, get your hand out of the neutral zone is weird, but I don't know what to do with that either. I would have left it go completely, except Tyreek Williams then just falls flat in his face after that, so they had to do something. It's like, I think if they were looking at that, they would have been like, I don't know what the answer to this is, so let's just let it ride completely. Only then Tyreek Williams face plants in the neutral zone. You're like, oh, no, now we've got to call something. Bizarre play.
It was just a strange overall game. The Eagles are continuing to win ugly. A.J. Brown did have 7 catches on 11 targets. They were feeding him quite a bit. Didn't have anything beyond 12 yards.
8 targets in the first half.
Yeah. But and then as you said, the Lions needed to make one more stop. They were going to get the ball back with a little bit of time, and we probably would have seen 3 more quick Jared Goff incompletions. But 3rd and 8, kind of a weak pass interference that everybody saw. What did you say? It looked like A.J. Brown goes up with it. He only goes up with one hand. And so it's one of these things where it's standard coverage. It's perfectly routine. It happens 20 times in a game. And don't send me the screen. I got the screenshot sent to me. I don't need screenshots showing the hand fighting.
This is the problem.
You could screenshot anything.
This is the problem, and this is my campaign to eliminate slow-mo replay from these things. And this is not even decided on replay, but just stop showing slow-mo replays of things that change what happened. This was absolutely standard, routine, tight man coverage in which both players hand fight, right? And in the course of that, what happens is there's some contact from Rock Yassin on A.J. Brown, like he's grabbing a little bit of him, bits and pieces. That's how you stay in press man coverage. That's part of the gig. And at the other end, A.J. Brown is using his hand to extend and try and get some separation at the catch point. That is also what you do against press man coverage. It's fine. It's a wash. It's nobody fouled on that play, right? And then they call defensive pass interference because A.J. Brown goes up. He separates with this hand, right, and goes up with this hand. And then as he's separating, in order to try and stop him doing that, Rocky Sin grabs hold of his left hand or A.J. Brown's right hand. And you can freeze frame it. We're like, he's grabbing his right hand. That's pass interference.
I've been sent the freeze frame.
Of course. So you can find the frame that says, look, he's grabbing his right hand. That's textbook pass interference. It's like, yeah, but if you run the damn play at full speed, it's not. He's only doing that after Brown is pushed off to try and separate, which also isn't a foul, by the way. This is just routine physical play between a physical wide receiver and a physical press man corner. It's nothing. And they throw a defensive pass interference flag on it. Look, it was such a blatantly bad call that they didn't even go to Terry McCauley on the broadcast. Chris just called it out for bullshit and was like, that's a terrible call.
Just like Chris Bent.
Yeah, if anything, it's offensive pass interference. I don't even think it's that. It's just a bad football call. Bad call by the officials. We're not even going to bring in Terry to get his take on it because it's just so obviously a bad call. And then everyone gets on the slow-mo replay and is like, nah, look, if you check. No, shut up. The slow-mo replay is irrelevant. Run at full speed. It's not pass interference. The end.
To be clear, it would have. I'm just rooting for football and entertainment. It was with 151 left. It probably would have given the Lions the ball back with about $1.45.
Yeah, they would have had a chance. They would
have had a chance. And Goff was 2 for his last 18.
Right. Given the way this game had gone, the chances are that would have ended with the Lions turning the ball over on downs.
Yeah,
again for the 6th time. But still, we were robbed of that drive.
We were robbed as fans, just like the Darnold face mask.
It's exactly like that. It's like that probably didn't change the outcome of the game, but as fans, we were robbed of one drive that should have existed at the end of this game with everything on the line, and we didn't get to see that.
So just an incredible job by the Eagles defense. Their ability to win ugly and win in this game. I mentioned the number of drives because I think it's significant a lot. Like a 10-drive game is normal, right? 13 drives by the Lions, and then we talk about some teams. when you play on, if you treat everything as 4-down territory, you're giving yourself 20% more chance to, convert or whatever. So the Lions had 13 drives, and on 5 of those, they went for it on 4th down. And they still only scored 9 points against the Eagles. And they had the 5 4th down stops, including 3 in the second half, all in the third quarter. I mean, unbelievable job by this Eagles defense to slow down this Lions offense.
It's just such a remarkable thing for a team to go for 5 4th, get none of them. It's just unbelievable.
Eagles move to 8-2, full control now of the NFC. Lions fall to 6-4, technically out of the playoff picture if the playoffs were to start today.
Which they don't.
But they're the number 8 seed behind the 7-4 49ers. They played an extra game.
Huge credit to the Eagles defense, which is just nasty, playing out of its mind right now. The additions that they've made, so it's really good. Remember early in the season, you're like, I don't know if that defensive line is quite where it's been. The trade for Jalen Phillips, I think, has been transformational for that front. He stepped in, and the first game he was there, like day one, he was installed as a starter and played most of the snaps. Like they didn't ease him in. They didn't, transition him, give him a package. Like day one, he's out there as the starter and playing most of the snaps. This was game 2. He's still a really important part of that. And Nakobe Dean's return has been huge for this defense as well. And that's amazing. I thought he might get phased out based off drafting Jahad Campbell and, Dean not having a huge amount of stock invested in him in the first place. He was a 3rd-round pick, right? But he's come back and been huge for this defense. And he's so good against the run. Apparently, despite being like a 4-7 guy, he's able to run with Jahmyr Gibbs down the sideline on a wheel route, which I wouldn't have thought was possible either. But that defense is playing out of its mind right now.
Yeah, they really are. Just making everything difficult for the Lions in this game outside of a few behind the line of scrimmage passes and one Jameson Williams 40-yarder.
Goff was 1 for 14 under pressure.
Jeez.
And the one was the completion for the Jameson Williams touchdown where he hits him and just runs. The Eagles are now the 8th team to start 8-2 or better in 4 straight seasons, according to Josh Dubow. And what's fascinating is in those 4 seasons, it's been make and lose a Super Bowl, collapse,
historic level collapse, not in record, but just in performance.
Then make and win a Super Bowl, and now this season.
And now ...
Yeah.
Question.
The other teams to have done that, the Saints in 2017-20, the Bills in the 90s where they went on their run, the Bears from 85 to 88, the Raiders in the late 70s, the Dolphins in the early 70s, the Packers in the 1920s, and the Packers again in the 1920s. Oh, no, sorry, the Bears in the 1920s.
Wow.
So basically all these teams were like, juggernauts.
Those 1920s Packers-Bears rivalries, just historic. They were great.
What do you make about A.J. Brown and that whole dynamic?
Nothing.
Really?
Thanks for asking.
I
think I'm mad. I kind of overreacted and said, "Oh, is he going to get traded or whatever?" I re-listened to his comments and listen to me. Just look at it through the lens of, like, if you had no history of how wide receivers act, if you had no history, if you didn't know Terrell Owens and Chad Ochocinco and Michael Irvin and books called "Throw Me the Damn Ball," like if you did not know that existed, and A.J. Brown was any other position, or you just didn't know, you just had no preconceived notion for how other wide receivers have acted. And people asked A.J. Brown, what do you think? Oh, the offense got to play better. He's saying the defense is pulling their weight. We have to play better. He's on whatever, TikTok, Instagram, Face Live. I'm just kidding. He's playing Xbox Live, whatever he was playing with people saying like, oh, don't pick me up in fantasy. I'm not producing. And he's like, all I hear is him telling the truth, telling the absolute truth. He's not saying, man, I need 15 targets. Don't pick me up in fantasy because they don't feed me. I'm open all the time. Throw it to me. Throw me the damn ball. The offense sucks because they don't throw to me. He's not saying any of that. He's saying we're not good on offense right now. The defense is pulling their weight. At some point, we're going to have to pull our weight. And that's been the Eagles the last 4 years with all these 8-2 runs. They've had games where the defense has not been good and the offense pulls their weight and the pass game pulls their weight or the run game. And it's been so bad this year outside of little stretches. And that's all he's saying. And if we had no preconceived notions for how other receivers have been, this is what I'm saying. Like, every announcer's like, man, I used to have receivers. Like Troy Aikman's like, I know how receivers act. I had Michael Irvin. Everybody projects Michael Irvin, Terrell Owens, and all these other receivers on Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown when they might not be anything like them. They're just competitors who want to be a part of a good offense, and that's it. And it's not headache stuff. It's not distractions. It's not any of that. Just because we think this is how Ocho did it. This is how Irvin did it. This is how T.O. did it. This is how these other guys do it. And we project it on A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson and any other frustrated receiver. That's what I think.
Okay.
On the other hand.
So.
Go ahead.
I will say, I think you're right in that everything that a current diva wide receiver does is like chump change compared with Terrell Owens, Chad Ochocinco, old school divas, right? It's they'd be embarrassed by what they're seeing.
Keyshawn
right?
was throwing me the damn ball, by the way. Sorry,
yeah.
Keyshawn.
Like
this is who we're comparing to.
Yeah.
This is why I was blaming the broadcast, because when they show this, everybody's like, I remember Keyshawn doing that. He must be just like Keyshawn and Irvin. Sorry, go ahead.
And those guys would be embarrassed at this stuff being talked about in the same light as the stuff that they were doing. But it's a different world now than it was then. And social media exists now, and the whole media landscape is different than it was back then. And so it's not just this. You can't, I think, just say, well, because he's not doing the stuff that Randy Moss is doing, therefore it's not a distraction. I think the bar for what has become a distraction is different now because the media environment is different. And what is a distraction is almost dictated by what the media decides is a distraction, not with what you're doing. Chris was pretty interesting on this a lot last night. He had multiple pops at it when it came to talking about A.J. Brown and his thing. We already talked about it before with Jefferson. Like, there's nothing wrong with being frustrated as long as it doesn't reflect in any performance sacrifice or any obvious instances where you stop playing. And that, I think, is a difference between Jefferson and A.J. Brown. There was a play yesterday where it was a 3rd and 15. He took a deep shot to A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown stopped running the route. Now, I don't know why he stopped running the route. He wasn't wide the hell open, so it's not like but equally, you're one-on-one on the outside. It's an ISO route. This is what you do as the Philadelphia Eagles. You can't reasonably assume that ball is not going to get put in the air, and you have to run through that route, and he didn't. And that's the second time this year that that's happened. The first one, I think it was more debatable. This one, it's difficult to find a real excuse for why he stopped running that route. So that's a problem. Like, you can't do that at the same time as getting arsy about things. The other thing I would say is I think you have an argument that is, like Chris was like, look, just don't ever say anything negative, right? You only be positive. There's no reason to be anything else because that becomes a distraction. I don't think that's true. I think there's absolutely a case that one of your best players, a wide receiver that's been such an important part of this offense can be like, right now our offense is struggling and I'm not getting the football. Give me the ball. That makes the offense better. Like, I think you can at least construct the argument, even if it's wrong, to say, and I'm not saying it is wrong, but even if it is, I think you can at least construct the argument to say the best thing for this team is for me to get the ball more, right? I think you can make that argument, and I think you can make it publicly, and it'd be a reasonable standpoint. So I don't think you can say, well, as a wide receiver, you should never have the ability to say things publicly and say, this should change, because that's part of being a leader. That's part of being an important player. But I think if you're going to do that, you can't also just be making random stupid statements on a Twitch stream. Like, that's not helping anybody. That does fall into the category of stuff you just shouldn't say. Like, that's just keep your mouth shut. That's not helping anything. If you want to be, look, I'm just a team first guy. I'm trying to make us better. This is why I'm talking about this. I don't think you can also be like, but I'm also like making random cracks about fantasy teams on Twitch.
I just didn't read that like in any of AJ's comments over the last couple of years, because remember, he also like read a book on the sideline last year, and it was like, this is going to be a distraction. Wasn't a distraction. They went on to win the Super Bowl. I forget which game that was. Was that during the playoff run, or was that late in the season?
I felt like that was regular season.
Okay, but that was the same thing. It's like he's doing this, and he only had 2 catches. He must be upset, and he's like, I'm not upset. I'm just staying mentally. He wasn't upset. Like, dude, this is what, like, we've been looking for this.
But he clearly now is upset. Like, that's
has
different.
It been this is what I'm getting at. Has it been self-centered upset? Because I think that's where, like,
and that's why I'm saying, like, you can be vociferous and say, look, I'm just annoyed that we're not efficient on offense right now, and I want that to be better. I think that message gets undermined if you're also on Twitch making random cracks. Like, if you had just been, I'm annoyed and I'm frustrated not because I'm not seeing the ball. I don't care if I see the ball. My problem is the offense is not where it should be. And that, I think, is because I'm not seeing the ball. If you were making that argument, that's, I think, an entirely respectable position to take. And you could defend that, and that would be fine.
Twitch thing was, I mean, Michael Irvin was never on Twitch making comments. You
but
never
that's
saw
what
that
I'm saying.
from Ocho.
So this is why the standard is different, right? Because those guys had to do stuff in front of media or whatever for it to even be a story, and therefore it had to be ridiculous. Now, you can just be out here gaming, doing whatever you're doing on a random weeknight, and if you say something stupid, it's on a public stream, and it's all over the place, and that's your media cycle. Like, that's why it's a totally different standard than it is for Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Michael Irvin, Keyshawn Johnson, whoever.
Yeah.
Keyshawn had to write a damn book for it to be a problem.
Yeah, I just look at it. I don't know, man. I think he's mostly being honest about the offense, the medium in which he's conveying that. I don't think it's a self-centered, like, I need 15 targets and that's why we're not doing well. I don't think he's ever been like that. I've actually called that a positive for A.J. Brown in the fact that the Eagles over the last few years could win in different ways. They can win with Saquon. They can win with Devontae games, A.J. Brown games, defense games. They can win in multiple ways. And I think it's just taken its toll on him that those aren't evening out a little bit, right? There's not even a game where Saquon's gone for 200, and you could say, of course I'm only going to get 2 catches. Saquon had a great game. There's not a game where the Eagles played this start-to-finish clean offensive game. Hasn't happened yet this season, right? And that part I get, and I think that's a concern, and it's like a legitimate concern for them.
Every number one wide receiver in the NFL, if they're suddenly not finding the football, I think would assume that the game their offense improves if they get the ball, right? I don't think there's anybody out there that would not think that. So that's an entirely natural standpoint to take from a wide receiver. And given that the offense isn't firing on all cylinders and hasn't been all season long, I also think it's fair enough to say that in public. I don't agree with Chris that you should just shut up, only ever say a positive thing about your teammates or about the opposition. I think he's earned the right to say the offense isn't where it needs to be and I'm not seeing the football. Those two things may be connected, right? How about showing me the ball some more? Where I think he undermines his own message is by, like, you need to then button everything else up and make sure that's the only message you're delivering.
The point I'm making is, how has he even referenced himself in his own lack of production, and that's the reason why it's not. He hasn't even referenced any of that.
No, but he just took a crack on Twitch saying don't.
Because that's the truth, because he's not catching a lot of passes
but that's the thing. It doesn't.
But
these things don't matter what the truth or what isn't the truth. The point is how it's going to be interpreted.
Maybe I'm just really naive, and it's just naive Steve coming up again. I believe if Devontae had a 15-catch, 250-yard game and 3 touchdowns, and AJ had 1 catch, and the offense puts up 50, not only would he be happy, he would say, yeah, that's good offense. We're doing well. I don't think he's on Twitch. I mean, he'd still say my fantasy production's down, which is the truth maybe, but he'd be happy with the offense.
Right.
But he's not happy because the entire offense is bad.
That's fine.
Whether he's getting catches or not.
But the point is, the second you allow that interpretation to show up, you turn it into a distraction.
I get what you're saying, yeah. It's like a media savvy thing. Like, should you put it out there or not?
It's not a distraction if you are simply frustrated by the inefficiency of your offense and believe that you getting more targets would improve that, right? Again, that's completely understandable and reasonable, and I think everyone in the locker room would understand that. Hey, our number one wide receiver's not getting the football. Maybe we should give him the ball, and that would improve things. Where I think it becomes, or at least has the potential to become a distraction, is if you allow people to believe reasonably, not just like warping things, but if you allow people to believe because of things you've said that he's just selfish, he just wants the football. Like that, I think you undermine your own message and allow that to exist as a potential outcome here.
Good discussion. Good discussion on wide receivers, and ultimately I still think the media makes a little bit more of it than it is. Like, it's only a distraction because is it even a distraction? Does distractions even matter? It's a whole different discussion. We got to wrap this show though. Is that the last game? I think we're done.
So soon?
We had to get some in-depth Shedeur Sanders and wide receiver discussion in. Had to get it. Anyway, fun show. Week 11. We got Monday Night Football tonight. Welcome back, YouTube TV and Disney. Just good to see Disney and Google
come together,
making amends on Friday night with a big college football game. It was because Notre Dame was on ABC, and oh man, the Irish fans missing Notre Dame.
Couldn't have that.
No, they had to cave on Friday night. That's all we got for today. We'll go live tonight after Raiders Cowboys. Don't forget, sign up for the membership so you can join us Thursday night. We'll do a little bit free, and then Thursday night watch along Bills, Texans, all sorts of great stuff planned for members going forward beyond that as well. And then a big week. We'll have, I think, is Mina joining the show Wednesday?
Yeah.
Should be on Wednesday's show. And then we have a bonus show with Mike Renner going through his mock draft, which will show up probably on Friday this week. And if you missed it, Dane Brugler talked draft on the channel on Friday as well. So starting to get some draft talk going here as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's it for us today. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again Wednesday with more Check the Mic.